Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your old-type hosts.
I am John.
I'm David.
And I'm CC. And when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Today we will venture to the space colonies once again as we review the highly anticipated new show from Hideaki Anno's studio Khara, Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuX. And since it's always risky to brave the harsh waters of Gundam fandom, we have bolstered our ranks and asked my friend David to join us in this particular battle. But before that, John and I will quickly talk about a couple of shorts the Lycoris Recoil franchise has blessed us with this season. So grab your Haro and installer key, make sure to not let your space empire build yet another obvious super weapon, and definitely don't pause the pod. We'll be right back.
So, before we start digging into the big boy review this time around, I figured we'd take just a quick minute to chat about a series of, I think they call them short movies, that released for Lycoris Recoil, which we kind of have to go back on our pronunciation of the word because listening to the way they say it in the dub, Oh, John watched the dub? Oh. And actually looking at the katakana for the title of the show, which, probably should have done in the first place. Yes, that's how it's pronounced.
I mean, they probably said it in the show as well, but then you probably just don't pay attention.
They did, but the thing is, Japanese pronunciations of English words can be weird at times.
Yeah, I get it.
And I mean, you could say the same about English pronunciation of Japanese words. It cuts both ways. But even so, you're like, oh, there is a Y in the word. We're stupid. We're idiots.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there was a series of 6 short movies. Each episode, I believe, had a different director.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. Directed by Takashi Sakuma, Tsuyoshi Tobita, Kota Mori, Takayuki Kikuchi, Motoki Nakanishi, and Masayuki Sakoi in episode order. It was all overseen by Shingo Adachi.
I was about to say,
the original series.
Doesn't Adachi didn't direct any of them? That's interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got to imagine he oversaw the production, and it looks like each of them storyboarded and directed each individual episode, and then they had some level of looking at the scripts as well, I think. And this is just like an everyday look at the lives of the Lycoris and the goofy shenanigans therein, because this was just, this was just like a nice, relaxing series of episodes that were just like chill. But there was, some weirdo stuff in there that was still fun to watch.
And could be a teaser for the coming season or movie. We'll see. So
yeah, there's still that on the table, which they've been kind of coy about. But
Shingo Adachi has already confirmed that they started working on a new Lycoris Recoil animation project right after they wrapped up the first season, and that these 6 shorts ain't that. So, and I think he said they're taking their time to do it right, which is fine with me. We'll just have to wait and see if it turns out to be either the one or the other, so movie or second season. But I'm fine with either. Just please take your time, make it as awesome as the first season. And but yeah, there are some little hints. First of all, we're going to try not to talk too long about this because these are all like 3 to 5 minutes long. So if we take too long, you can just watch it. You're already halfway done by the point you're listening to all of this. So, but
yeah, we felt like it would be a little absurd if we went on for an hour about 23 minutes of animation.
Yes, but we wanted to bring the show back into the consciousness of everyone, and maybe who didn't listen to the first review for some reason, because it was a show we very much both enjoyed, and we're looking forward to the next big thing, whenever that's coming. But it's nice to have like these small appetizers in here, and like like John said, there is some weird stuff in there, some fun stuff in there, and also some stuff that might tease to next season. I feel like at the end they're all the way through to these 6 episodes, they're teasing to go on vacation. It's one of the things where it's like, oh, I want to go to, what is it called? Haiwa instead of Hawaii or Waiha, whatever.
I feel like they pretty much said Hawaii, but
okay.
I mean, if they didn't, it was like, that's where they're going. That's where they're going.
Yes. I feel the subs did something else, but maybe it was just a joke. But yeah, this is at the beginning of whatever the next thing is, we're probably gonna see them there. That's my assumption. Why they're doing it the way they're doing it. Maybe we'll see. But this is it's just Takina and Chisato and the gang hanging out and doing normal daily work, and then daily dumb shit is happening because these characters are involved.
I just love Chisato's looking through the travel book, and they get a call about a thief running rampant through the neighborhood, and it's like, Takina, they want to talk to you. Chisato won't focus, and then Goshu comes walking in the door
and gets barked at.
Yes, just one. Huh?
Yeah, that threw him off his game if he had any to begin with. But that was super funny. Takina just barking at him that made me laugh real out loud.
She had a lot of Takina in particular had a lot of great moments through this.
Bringing the guns to the festival. I didn't expect her to be so, I should have probably, to be so business savvy as to, we should have these festivals more often. Just because you can sell more booze.
Because the alcohol brings in a lot of money. Okay.
And then 2 of them, like Chisato and Takina, make 2 different kind of ass drinks, which is also very nice, I guess.
What do you mean? What does it look like? It looks like poop from a butt, Takina. What?
Yeah, I mean, the other one actually looks like more like a butt, and the other one looks like poop. Yeah, so there you go. It was absolute fun time.
Chisato and Mizuki absolutely just losing it.
Yes. The voice actors had so much fun in this again, and you could already feel that in the first season because dialogue was so snappy and dialed up to the max in certain parts, like the performances and everything. So very hyper show, but also incredibly fun. Yeah,
because I watched. Because this is a very short watch, I watched through it twice. You know, the original Japanese the first time, and then they put out the episodes dubbed a little bit later. And I didn't watch any of the original show dubbed, but Lizzie Freeman, who plays Chisato, and Zanthe Win, who plays Takina, they're just as great in English. Like, it's the same level of energy with the portrayal of the characters, and it's really, really good. So I feel like you can't go wrong watching either.
If this wasn't set in Japan, I would feel like the English dub would be the thing, like the version to go with, because everything in the first season harkened back to classic American buddy cop movies. So I feel like if that was set in America for some reason, that or somewhere else, this should have been like the dub should probably be the thing to go.
I mean, at one point they name drop specifically The Social Network, and Chisato says like, "I'll be the Chisato Zuckerberg."
No, please.
And I'm like, number one, girl, please don't. But number 2, okay, that's pretty funny.
Yes, but there are better ways to innovate. To be an innovator, don't become a Zuck, please.
Yeah,
stop zucking. Nobody needs that.
No.
But we also got the Return of the Terminator sting. That was also very nice. And to see that
musical stinger, it was just like, yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Good shit.
Kurumi maybe being a ghost in that episode, definitely taking a couple or 3 pages out of Five Nights at Freddy's book.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the first thing that came to mind as well. Oh, this is a Five Nights at Freddy's reference. For sure. Yeah, I cannot wait to see what nonsense the next like big iteration of this is gonna have in store for us. Because at the end of this, which by the time I think we are now with the record, well, no, we have recorded about 10 minutes, so you're not done with all the episodes yet, but close.
You're through about 2.5 at this point.
Yeah. So, but yeah, by the time I was done with it, I was like, the only feeling that I was left with was, I want more.
And we're apparently going to get more, so that's cool.
Yeah, I'm just totally looking forward to it. I just hoping for news soon. But again, like I said, the more important thing is that Shingo Adachi takes as much time as he deems necessary to deliver the best possible version of whatever they cooked up for the next story arc, whatever of this. Because we had some not big threads, but there were some threads left hanging in the story at the end of the first season, if I remember correctly. So there's something to pick up from if they want to. I mean, they could do something else entirely as well, but maybe they probably won't. So yeah, looking forward to see where this is heading next, because all these 6 shots were also super fun and showed me that this team didn't lose their step. So yeah, very much looking forward to more of Lycoris Recoil. Pronouncing it correctly this time. But yeah, let's get our third man in here and get to the big one. Yeah, time to dive back into one of the most storied franchises in anime history, if not the most storied one, probably, maybe next to Dragon Ball, I don't know. Mobile Suit Gundam. We have reviewed a couple of Gundam shows at this point, John. Let's see. Full review of the Origin, I think, Iron-Blooded Orphans and Witch from Mercury, right? And you have briefly talked about some of the Gundam Build series.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think that's everything.
Yeah,
up to this point.
Exactly. So that's our track record as far as this podcast goes. But of course, these are not the only Gundam shows we've watched. And also, it's not only the two of us talking about Gundam this time. I have brought one of my longtime friends along. David, say hi.
Hi, happy to be on the show.
Great to have you here. So yeah, I've known David since high school, and we, I think, got into anime roughly at the same time, at least like knowing that it is called as such. We have watched anime before on German TV, but those just being cartoons at that point, right? And not necessarily us associating it with a different thing. That's how it was for me anyway. Was it the same for you, David? I think so.
I think I would go even further to say that, like, we both individually got into anime even before we've known each other. Mm-hmm. And then because we had this common interest, I think that's how we became friends, if I remember that correctly.
Aside from video games, it was definitely one of our main shared hobbies, interests. Yeah. I remember that definitely. You got me into the Dragon Ball manga. You got those first and lent them to me. I remember that, so I read all of those because of you. And I know we watched Bubblegum Crisis together and the Street Fighter 2 Victory series, I think, partially.
Yeah, Record of Lotus War.
Record of Lotus War, right?
The golden age of anime OVAs.
Exactly. And one specific one that is very relevant to this review that we're talking, the show we're talking about today, but we'll get to that later. First off, why I brought you along, aside from having another cool person to talk to, is you have a YouTube channel called Giant Robo Love where you do Gundam-related content. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, that's true. So actually, the channel itself started in maybe 2016. Back then, it was more like a toy photography thing. And from that on, it somehow translated into Gundam and Gunpla stuff. So the things that I do on this channel is mostly Gunpla related, but I try to diverse the content a little bit and I made some Evangelion dioramas as well. And that's why I broadened the name, just not focus just on Gunpla and Gundam, but giant robots in general. And that's how the name came into life. And yeah, on the channel itself, it's mostly custom Gunpla builds. I do painting, customization, dioramas, and all that kind of stuff Gunpla related.
Yeah, and it's awesome. The videos are highly produced. They're easy breezy watches. You do a bit of narration on the side. Yeah, and explain what you did really well. It's good. It's great camera work and everything. Cool music. So I mean, I'm biased, of course, but I recommend everyone listening to this podcast to also watch your channel, at least if they have a passing interest in giant robots. Which why wouldn't you? So I can wholeheartedly recommend that channel.
Thanks for the plug.
You had linked the hairspray chipping video maybe a couple weeks ago, CC, and I do a little bit of model building, but I don't do that level of stuff. But it's still really cool to see stuff like that. So
yes, thank you. Yeah,
and you have your own Discord channel for your YouTube channel, right? So people can join there as well. That is has the same name. So yeah. Once we're done with this episode, with this review, why don't you, dear listeners, head on over to Giant Robolove and check that out if you're into giant robots, which I hope you are, because all of us are. So, speaking of those, and speaking of the franchise at hand, why don't we quickly, because John and I have talked about this before, what like the Gundam shows are that we watch besides the ones that we reviewed on this show, and which kind of stuck in our mind, which are maybe our favorites. We slightly in passing when we reviewed one of those shows. We talked about the other ones a bit. But, of course, we haven't talked about this with you yet, David. So why don't you tell us what Gundam shows like stuck in your mind? What got you interested in that franchise, and what were the most memorable ones that you maybe kept going back to, or that have stuck in your mind from your childhood or whatever, when you even start getting into this particular franchise?
Yes, of course. So giant robots, for as long as I can remember, have always been an interest to me. I mean, it started out with, of course, Transformers. I think every boy at least had a Transformer toy in his youth, in his childhood.
From our age group, definitely.
Yeah, and from there on out, somehow it came. I think the first show or cartoon besides Transformers that I got really hooked on was the Saber Rider show.
Same.
I don't know if it's the same name in the US.
It is.
I know the Japanese name is different, but yeah. So Saber Rider is the first thing that comes to mind if I had to think back on giant robots. Ramrod. I totally got hooked on that.
I think it wasn't as big in the US. It was a lot bigger in Germany. I don't know Europe overall, but that a lot of people I know watched Saber Rider, and that was definitely one of the first things that, going back to it, I recognized as an actual anime. And John, I'm not mistaken, right? Saber Rider wasn't super big in the US, and it also wasn't super big in Japan. Say Jushi Bismarck.
I remember hearing the name, but I don't remember it being super popular over here. No, but I think some of the other stuff of that ilk that was kind of popular around that time would probably be like Thundercats and Silverhawks, and boy, those were shows.
Absolutely,
definitely, yes.
Also animated by Japanese studios, so at least there's some overlap there. But David, what else?
and then afterwards, I think I've watched a good share of Power Rangers as well. I mean, it's all giant robots where you get to pilot, big mechas. That's the kind of thing that I got hooked on. And I think the first real anime mecha show that I watched was Gundam Seed in, what was it, 2006, if I'm not mistaken, 2006 or 2007. That's the first Gundam show I got in contact with, and it hooked me right away. I remember watching all of it, but at that time I had no clue what Gundam was. So when Seed and Seed Destiny ended, I think the next show that came was 00, and I was so confused as to wait, what happened to Kira and his crew? Why is there new people? Like, what? So from there on out, I just, dove into the theme of Gundam and the vast universe that it is. And I learned of Gundam, the UC, the UC universe. Somehow, like I stopped watching that for a long time. And I can't remember when exactly, but it hit me again when I bought my first Gunpla kit. It was a Gundam Seed, the L Strike, of course, because I got hooked on Seed. And from there on out, it was just a rabbit hole. And I got to explore even more of the UC, and I started watching all the shows once I got, the chance to do so. And out of all the shows that I've watched, I think Gundam The Origin definitely is one of the shows that stuck with me ever since, because I think I would say it's one of the best origin stories of a villain. Char, the Char Aznable story. This one most definitely, and then War in the Pocket and 8 MS Team. So these two shows, they were placed right into the UC, right? I think it was like 0080. Don't let me lie, 85, and I think 8 MS Team is, I think it's set in 0078 or 79. Yeah, these shows definitely got stuck with me, and I think those were the shows that I would definitely recommend to people if they want to dive into Gundam in the Gundam universe and learn what the gist of Gundam is.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, I've watched all of the UC's animes.
Really, all of them? Like, literally?
Wow. That's
up until,
a lot.
Up until Hathaway's Flash. I haven't watched I think F91 plays
after. I heard you can also skip that, so
yeah,
I might be wrong, but...
I haven't watched that, and I think Turn A Gundam also somehow is loosely based on the UC. But this plays like, I think even 1,000 or 2,000 years after the original show, so I haven't watched that as well.
Yeah, it was my understanding that Turn A was like the convergence, like the end point of all things.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about that, but because
that's what I heard as well.
But that was my understanding.
It's like the thing where all the timelines coalesce in some way or another, and I think something like that. So, but I haven't watched it either, so I don't know. I just remember the kind of out there Gundam design from that show with the mustache and everything.
Yes,
that's memorable, but I haven't watched it. I don't know about you, John. We talked about this before, but I haven't watched that many UC show. I think I've watched more AU. So UC is Universal Century for the uninitiated. So the timeline that the original Gundam show from 79 is set in, and all its subsequent stories. But there are also a bunch of shows that are set in alternate universes, are kind of semi-reboots and retellings of certain parts of the original show, but also then doing something completely different. Most of the shows we reviewed, aside from Origins, are AU shows. So Iron Blooded Orphans, I think, is an AU show, and the same goes for Witch from Mercury, if I'm not mistaken. I think none of these are UC shows.
Both. They're both outside of the UC, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So outside of that, I watched some UC show. I watched the movie versions of the original Gundam show. I didn't watch Zeta. I didn't watch Double Zeta. Any of the other stuff. I watched Unicorn. Really liked that a lot. That's also one of the more memorable shows for me. John has a kind of different experience with that. So
I watched Re-0096 and I was like, wow, I hated this.
Yeah,
is that the show or the the TV version, not the OVA?
It's the TV cut, but it's it's the same thing, but
yeah, but they did some bad stuff to it. Like, I don't know, they overextended some stuff that was necessary. They cut some stuff out that was important, and the story just doesn't flow in the TV version. As far as I've come to here, I didn't watch it. I watched the OVA version, and I liked the OVA version. Yeah. So aside from that, the one show from recent time that I really enjoyed and I stuck in my mind is, of course, Witch from Mercury. I thought that was a terrific Gundam show. One of my favorite ones, also one that doesn't suffer from the second season Gundam curse, which a lot of the Gundam shows, especially the AAU shows, like are subject to, where it's like, hey, this is really promising. The first season is incredible. And then the second season hits and you're like, what happened? This happens to Double O. This happens to Gundam Seed, which Gundam Seed Destiny is, in my opinion, one of the worst Gundam shows ever created, at least from the ones I watched. It's atrocious. It happens in Iron-Blooded Orphans, where this was one of the most promising Gundam shows I had seen up to that point, and then the second season just kind of, I don't know, loses track. I don't know.
It just sort of fell apart. It's sad to see.
Yeah. So Witch from Mercury doesn't suffer from that. It doesn't happen to it. But still, I would agree with David that Gundam The Origin is one of the absolute best Gundam shows I've seen. And I think, John, we both talked about this in the past. We would fucking love to see a reimagining reboot of the original Gundam 79 series in the style of The Origin, where it's like maybe a bit of an abbreviated or a streamlined version of it, but in general, the production values of this, and maybe with additional writing or bolstered writing from that show, that would be
great. Come on, Bandai Namco, come on.
I mean, they did part of that with Zeta Gundam. There is, I think, some episodes from the show. They if you call it remaster, they remastered that with a new art style, like an upgraded art style, and they inserted it into the original show. So, like for people who jump into that and watch Zeta, and then out of a sudden, like they see this change of animation from, what was it, 80? I can't remember from when the show was, but that jump in animation quality, it's so apparent. You'd be confused if you see it, but if you see it, the quality is amazing.
Okay. Interesting. I think they did that for the movies. I don't know if they did that for the show themselves, but maybe also. I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm mixing it up, but yeah.
But so I did clean up the movies a little bit.
Yeah. But, to, I guess, sum this up, all of us have experienced various degree of Gundam over time. Some favorites here. John, what are your favorite? I mean, we haven't talked about this yet. What are your most memorable ones, aside from The Origin, which I think all of the three of us love?
Well, before actually watching Gundam, I remember playing this one game, not knowing what it was. It was a Super Famicom game called Gundam Wing Endless Duel.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
And not knowing that it was tied to this animated series, and just being like, oh, it's a cool little fighting game with the robots, and they're really awesome, and the big purple one with the giant green sword is awful and cheap, and I don't want to fight against it. I think Epion was so busted in that game. But then I think it was maybe had to have been a year or so after they started airing it on Toonami, and I started watching it. But they aired it twice, once during the day and then during their midnight run, where they could have all the cussing and the blood and the ooh. So I remember actually videotaping that version so I could watch it the next day. And that was my first exposure. And then from there, I just kind of started watching other stuff they had on Toonami, like 8th Team, like 0083. And then...
Oh, you had this on TV?
Yeah, a little bit.
I didn't know. That's great.
So we weren't blessed like that.
there was a big push. I mean, obviously some shows were more interesting than others. Like, I think they had like a limited time showing of War in the Pocket, which I kind of passed over.
Wow.
There was on the Sci-Fi Channel, they had a run of 00, which is how I watched it on there. I think Seed was on Toonami, but I have certain feelings about Seed, so
everyone does. Sorry. I mean, I have nostalgia for Seed.
Same,
the same, because it was the first Gundam show that I watched from beginning to end. I mean, I saw some clips from Wing before and everything, but I never watched it. We of course both also played the game, David, to nauseating degree.
Is that one of those Battle Assault games?
No. I mean the Wing Endless Duel game.
Okay.
Yeah, this was definitely the soundtrack and everything was also one of my favorites. Absolutely, still great. But aside from Wing, Seed was the first big one that I watched from beginning to end, and also, but I recognize that it has certain flaws, and those flaws get only, let's say, increased in Gundam Seed Destiny, and yes, so I can see, but still, I would still say Seed is a decent show.
It is a landmark title, and I mean, going back on it now, I look at it and I'm like, okay, I see that they were trying to have it be like a reboot of the original, but even so, there's parts of it that just don't work, and I don't like Khara.
I mean, a lot of people don't, because he's to a degree Mr. Perfect, but yes, I see where you're coming from, and I think that sentiment is echoed by a lot of Gundam fans, and totally understandable. For us, it's placed in the nostalgia ballpark, so I can't say too many bad things about it, but I can say a lot of bad things about Gundam Seed Destiny. So there's that.
But judging from the recent movie release, it looks like Seed was quite popular.
Oh yeah. It was super popular. Like that
Japan and,
hit everyone like a bomb.
I recently started a rewatch of Gundam Seed. I'm episode 3 or 4 right now. I mean, definitely watching it, it brings back memories. Yeah, but I just can't. I'm not excited for the part when the show falls apart.
Well,
yeah, I remember it was a few years after that when on Toonami they started to air the OG Gundam, which that was cool to see. But man, I was like, oh yeah, I want to check this out. And I started watching. I was like, I don't know how well this aged, my guy. So I didn't actually watch all of 0079 in its entirety until many, many, many years later when Bandai Namco and Sunrise started the Gundam Info YouTube channel, and they put the 3 movies up there for free to watch. And I was like, I'm actually going to sit down and watch these. And I did. And with the understanding that there's stuff that's not in there from the original show, because obviously, you have to format it for time, but I think it did a good enough job of telling the original story. So
I also only watched the 3 movies, and it was noticeable at certain parts that it was cutting out things. David, I think you watched the actual show, right?
I think 2 or 3 months ago I finished it. And I've also watched the movies, and definitely, I mean, of course, if you get a show which has like 43 episodes, you get more time to flesh out the characters and the relationships and everything, and just tell everything more in detail. So I would say if you're really, really interested, go check it out. I think it has a value, even if you know the movies.
Just get a little bit more out of it, I guess, when if you're super intrigued.
Yeah, I even heard that Tomino intended the show to be longer than 43 episodes, but I think during that time, it was even close to be canceled. So that's why he had to cut his story short. And it shows at the end a little bit, like when the finale comes, like you can see that things have been rushed. So it would be interesting to see what he did if the show had 51 or 52 episodes. But yeah, that's how it is. Still, I would still hold the show, like the TV show, in high regards to a piece of Japanese animation that's a part of the culture, or part of the anime culture. Yeah.
Yes, you can really imagine today's anime culture, and of course, back in the 90s, 80s, whatever, without Gundam having a huge play in that and huge influence. And I think there were so many shows that drew inspiration from that particular franchise. And especially the very first one. And that gives us a good jumping off point to the show we're talking about today. Also, when we're talking about rushed shows. But we'll get to that. So this is the newest outing, and it's a co-production between Studio Khara and Sunrise this time. And we'll get into the staff details right away. But first, I'm gonna read, as usual, the plot summary, which is a mishmash from Wikipedia, my Animalist Rewrite, and Anime News Network this time, because none of these sites had, in my opinion, good summaries on their own. So I had to stitch them together for it to not be with errors and everything. So that was really weird. Anyway, so In the year Universal Century 0079, the Earth Federation and Principality of Zeon battled on opposite sides of the deadly one-year war. During one skirmish, infamous Zeon pilot Char Aznable successfully infiltrated an enemy base and stole a prototype mobile suit called the Gundam. With this powerful weapon, Char helped his allies achieve a decisive victory. However, in a freak accident involving the Gundam's advanced technology, Char vanished alongside his signature red mobile suit. 6 years later, the war has ended, but pockets of conflict are still brewing throughout the solar system. Teenager Amate Machu Yuzuriha lives on the quiet Site 6 space colony with her mother. Though her classmates attend taxing cram schools, Machu yearns for a more exciting life. Her wishes are answered when she runs into a war refugee named Nyan. Her encounter with Nyan leads her to get involved in an incident when both the Principality of Zeon and the military police are pursuing Char's missing red Gundam after it suddenly re-emerged. To catch the red mobile suit, Zeon Commander Chalia Bull sends out pilot Xavier Oliviet in the GQuuuuuuX, a prototype Gundam specifically designed for new-type pilots. However, while trying to capture the red Gundam, Xavier crashes into the space colony and is ejected from the GQuuuuuuX. To stop the military police from ruthlessly rampaging through the city, Amate Machu jumps into the cockpit of the GQuuuuuuX, steals it, and subsequently defeats the police force, allowing the red Gundam to escape. The GQuuuuuuX is then taken and hidden by the Pomeranians, an underground team of mechanics participating in clan battles, a series of illegal and high-stakes mobile suit dueling matches. After meeting the red Gundam's new pilot, Shuji, Amate chooses to join him in clan battles on the side of the Pomeranians, fighting alongside him in the GQuuuuuuX in the pursuit of a thrilling life and human connection. So yeah, as you can already tell from this summary, there's a lot going on in the show, because this was only the first episode or first 2 episodes. But yeah, this show is an original project like most other Gundam shows are. Not all of them, but it's an original anime. And like I said, it's a co-op between Studio Khara and Sunrise. Studio Khara is Hideaki Anno's studio, the director/creator of another well-known mecha franchise, Neon Genesis Evangelion. And yeah, Studio Khara have done the 4 Evangelion Rebuild movies and a lot of other things. I'll let John tell you about what else they have done, but I still haven't seen the 4th one of those Rebuild movies. But just talking about Evangelion, that is also one of the shows that David and I tried to get our grubby little hands on as soon as that came out over here on VHS back in the day.
Yes.
So big into that show. That was definitely one of the things. I know how heavily we anticipated like the final release of that, and then we're kind of, when watching that, we're kind of nonplussed. What was that? For a while anyway. And yeah, David, how do you remember the experience with that franchise?
So you were talking about the VHSs. Back then, it was like in Germany, it was not easy to get your hands on, anime. And I remember there was one publisher here. I think they were Dutch, were selling those tapes for like 50 Deutschmark. And that was a lot of money for like students. So I saved all that stuff, and I luckily got my hands on the limited versions of those VHS tapes. And watching the shows, it was like, as a young student in his puberty, not knowing his place in the world, somehow felt Shinji, right? The way Shinji is struggling through the world, I saw some parallels to myself. And that's why I got attached to him as a character as well. But throughout the show, I can't remember how I felt after the ending of the TV show, the actual episode 25 and 26. Not until later, when I think we watched End of Evangelion, that we somehow got a closure. But even after that, I was still confused as to what the show was trying to tell me. And not only after I watched the 4th movie of the rebuild movies, like years later, I think we got the closure that we were all yearning for. I think that's also the ending that Anno wanted for the show. I think with that, fourth movie, like he finally got his closure with the IP, the brand Evangelion in itself. And I think we as viewers who joined him through all these like various iterations of the ends, I think I felt happy and satisfied in the end as well. Yeah. But during that time, as a kid watching episode 25, 26, when everything like when shit hit the fan, I was like, okay, what did I watch?
Yeah, same.
I was just confused and flabbergasted. I don't really remember my actual feelings. I just know that it's like maybe I can relate that to my first watching of The Matrix. I don't know how you guys felt after watching The Matrix, but I went out of that movie. Okay, so what did I just watch? What is this? And this is somewhat how I felt with Evangelion as well.
Yeah, like your eyes have opened in a specific way, but you don't know what I saw.
Yeah,
what you saw. Yeah, I kind of can relate to that, especially when it came to the ending. Now I understand after, reading a bunch about it and Anno's state of mind at that time. He was apparently heavily depressed and everything. So that kind of is reflected in the work and trying to get over certain things, psychological hold-ups and everything, and using the show to, I don't know, express that, and that is reflected in certain parts of the show, and also his interaction with rabid fans. That is kind of what led to End of Evangelion and everything. And yeah, so I'm glad to hear that the fourth movie is kind of this cathartic moment, also from possibly his standpoint. I have still haven't watched it, only have to watch the first three rebuild movies, but I intend to watch the fourth one.
I mean, you have to, right?
Yes, of course. Yes, I'm like pushing it over me. I want to rewatch the other three as well, but eventually I'll watch the fourth one. Looking forward to that a lot. John, did you have any experience with Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Other than like seeing clips and pieces and playing the there's a PSP game that was a rhythm game that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always aware of it, how big it was and the cultural impact. And I have one friend who's like super all about it. And I was trying to ask him, well, can I just watch the movies? And he's like, no, you have to watch the full series first and End of Evangelion. And I'm just like,
but you can't watch End of Evangelion right after the show. You have to insert it after episode 24, and then you go back to the episode. And it's like super complicated. Yeah,
that I didn't know.
I mean, there are guides for that, but still, it's a bit also with there are Death and Rebirth movies and so on. So yes, it's a bit convoluted to a certain degree, but I would still say not recently, but a couple of years ago, I rewatched the TV series and could get much more out of it this time from a subtextual standpoint and everything, knowing more of the history of the creator and everything. So, and yeah, I very much enjoyed the rebuild movies and where those were going and everything, although the third one left me a bit cold, I think, the first time I watched it, so I definitely want to revisit that. But yeah, there is, I would say, aside from probably some of the staff that worked on that, also working on this, because that was Gainax, and Studio Khara is, just like Studio Tigra, partially ex-Gainax people. There's not that much in here that I feel relates super hard to Neon Genesis Evangelion, aside from, like I said, the people.
Aside from the teenage angst.
Yeah, teenage angst, and also there's some nods, of course, in here. Like I'll talk about that when we get to that, but there are definitely some nods, very obvious ones to Neon Genesis Evangelion in here, but it's not like, oh my god, I have watched Evangelion, now this series, I understand so much more about GQuuuuuX. No, it's not like that. But I still feel like there is some handwriting or some, let's say, homages in here, and something where I would say, okay, yeah, I guess someone, either Anno himself or someone who worked with him has had, or was inspired by his work, had a hand in this, definitely. I mean, Anno himself, just to get that out of the way before we get to the rest of the staff, did not direct this. Like, he wrote a couple of episodes and storyboarded one. Looks like he was mostly responsible for the Chara flashback stuff. So he's not as involved in this as I expected, actually.
I find that fascinating because working on Gundam was clearly something he wanted to do all along. So to see that he worked on the Char stuff is like, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is very much in line with Anno's recent project, right? Which were mostly reimaginings of classic shows, movies, franchises from his youth. He was responsible for Shin Godzilla, Shin Ultraman, Shin Kamen Rider, and now this. So it's basically him going, this stuff is what inspired me as an artist when I watched it as a kid, and here's what I do with it if I get to play with these toys. So honestly, that's interesting.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always all for that. Like, if you have a very creative force, and he is definitely that, who is like, hey, here are these things that mean something to me, and this is what I would do with it. This is my interpretation of it. This is my view on certain things that these old shows, movies, whatever did. I'm always interested in that kind of dialogue from a creative side of things. So yes, from that perspective alone, this was interesting. But John, who else worked on this? Like, who is what did Khara do? It's outside of this and the rebuild movies. Who directed? Who wrote? And so on.
Well, I mean, Khara has had their hands in a lot of different things as a support studio, starting with our personal favorite, Darling in the Franxx. But on the more serious side, they have had hands in stuff like Erased, Fate Apocrypha, Flip Flappers, G-Reco.
Hey, it's another Gundam show.
Yeah.
And a Universal Century one too, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think G-Reco is UC.
Is it not? Okay, I might be mistaken. I didn't watch it.
I might also be wrong, but I don't remember it explicitly being UC.
Okay, I know that Tomino worked on it.
So. It's not listed in the UC timeline.
Okay, so it's AU, but it's Tomino stuff. Okay,
it's just like Turn A Gundam. Like somehow it has ties to it, but I think you wouldn't put it into the timeline.
Interesting.
I mean, it sure reads like a Tomino show. They worked on one of my personal favorite shows, the 2011 Idolmaster series, Kaiju number 8, which I know you are a big fan of. Mob Psycho 100. They've had their hands in a lot of different things. And like the big landmark stuff that, they have headed up is stuff like GQuuuuuX, the Evangelion movies. And then there's a couple other things like, I guess, apparently the Dragon Dentist.
Never heard of this before I watched looked at their library.
Yeah, but they also worked on an OVA for Gravity Rush, which is cool. So yeah, like I said, they have been around doing a lot of little things for a lot of people, which is, that's cool to see that they've helped out with a lot of things.
Yes.
The show itself was directed by one Kazuya Tsurumaki, who's also done a lot of like episode direction work on a lot of different stuff, like dating all the way back to the 1997 Berserk series, FLCL, Gunbuster, Kill la Kill, Macross Plus, which is one of my big favorite Macross series.
Yeah, for sure. He directed all of Die Buster, right? Which is kind of the follow-up to Gunbuster.
Gunbuster, Die Buster, Aim for the Top, the Gatai.
Yeah, and I definitely feel I get some Die Buster vibes from this show, so that's that's definitely where I'm like, okay, I see his influence here as well, most definitely. So
Saber Marionette R, wow.
Well,
okay.
Yes, had his hands in a lot of stuff, and also storyboarded on a bunch of different shows outside of directing stuff.
There's that. Obviously, it was co-written by Hideaki Anno and Yoji Enokido, who's done a lot of work on Bungo Stray Dogs. Worked on Captain Earth, which is a show I haven't thought about in a minute.
Nobody has. I promise you that.
That show was
it
all right.
Was all right, but it's definitely one of those shows where it's like, okay, where were you trying to go with this? And same for Star Driver, which you also worked on.
Star Driver started out so cool, and then it just was like...
It looked fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Worked worked on Utena back in the day. That's another throwback. Jeez, I feel so old reading some of these lists of credits sometimes, man.
Razefon, Sailor Moon as a Super S, yeah. But he also wrote a Redline, which is a fantastic movie. Everyone should watch Redline, people.
Still have not seen that, but I've heard how great it is.
Come on, John.
I know. You've said it. I think a mutual friend of ours has said it's a great movie, and I just have not put in the time to watch it.
It's
David,
a hoot.
For your reference, I'm terrible about watching movies. I buy them or rent them, and then I don't watch them. I still have not watched Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Well, there you go. But yes, everyone who is listening to this, please watch Redline, because it's one of the best movies from Madhouse, or one of the best anime movies, period. It's crazy. It's wacky races in space, technically. And it's the design work is impeccable and also insane. And it just... If you liked One Punch Man and the animation of that, yes. So then watch Redline. You get a whole movie out of that insanity. But yeah. Yes, please, David, get to it as well. Who composed the soundtrack?
It was co-composed by Masayuki Hasuo, who looks like this is like their big anime credit. Like, it looks like they may have done a couple other smaller things, according to VGMDB, but I think this is like their first big anime project. Mm-hmm. And then helping them out was Yoshimasa Terui, who we have heard during Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes. Fantastic soundtrack on that.
Yes. Terui's work is really, really good and sets the mood really strongly for a lot of what went down in that show. So good to hear him in there.
And I would say this is a really strong outing as well. Definitely one of the most positive things I can say about GQuuuuuX is the soundtrack, aside from also the visuals, which are fantastic, which we'll get to. But the soundtrack is impeccable. There's like this one great moment of diegetic's soundtrack work where Machu wears her headphones and you hear the muffled insert song and then she takes them off and it becomes the actual soundtrack of the scene. Always love clever stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so good.
It was fantastic. And we have a couple of different cool insert songs in this show. And the general soundtrack is amazing too, especially because it switches back and forth. When you get the flashback scenes, you have the old school, you have an old school Gundam style soundtrack. And
I love that so much. That was so cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. They do that several times.
Like when they had the episode title for those and they played the old stinger, I was like, oh, yes, okay, yes, all right.
We get old commercial stingers and everything, and we get an old ED song in the 11th episode as a pivotal moment, which we'll get to because that is spoilers, and we don't want to go into spoilers yet, but yes, soundtrack, I have nothing to complain. I thought it was fantastic. It was a cool mix of old school stuff, of new synth-based stuff and everything. The actual ED of the show has some nice chiptune style stuff in there that made me think of the Mega Man Battle Network soundtracks at certain parts. So I like that. I like the OP. So yeah, the music is fantastic in this show.
There's this one chiptune artist I follow who did an 8-bit cover of Plasma, and Kenshi Yonezu actually retweeted it. So he got some eyes on it, which was really cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So yeah, I know John liked the soundtrack. David, how did you feel about it?
No, definitely. It's very contemporary music.
Mm-hmm. Aside from the flashback stuff.
Yeah, of course. But I think it fits perfectly into I think also the target audience that the show is going for. So definitely, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Very catchy.
And the other big positive boon of the show are, in my opinion, of course, the visuals, because good lord, this show is pretty. From the environments, like we start out at this colony, Site 6, and it is just a dream tinged in neon light. It's so pretty. Like you have these more modern structures, and then you have kind of the slums where all the refugees are, where it's all a bit worn down and everything, and the lighting is fantastic, and so is the shading on the characters, like is the coloring on the hair of our main characters is super cool, neon-y, poppy, and just the color palette pops in general. It just is super not impressive. What's the word? It catches. It's super eye
stands
catching.
out. Yeah, it stands out definitely.
Absolutely. Like it catches your eye. It pulls your view into certain directions and everything. And it's just in general a very pretty show. Like I said, the environments are great. The character designs are pretty cool. And also you have a nice mix because in the flashbacks, not only is the soundtrack old school, the character designs are as well. So the show mixes that up too. And that becomes a bit funny / weird later when you have like the modern, newer designs of our current characters and then standing next to old school characters who are also partially updated. But you have some characters like Cassilia in there and stuff like that. And some older characters like who's in there, Grant or whatever he's called, one of the commanders of the Xeon ships. And he looks really like he's straight, at least from the origin, I would say, design-wise.
Shalia Bull looks very cleaned up in this series.
Shalia Bull super cleaned up. Like he looks suave. Like he looks
suave.
Yeah,
he sounds suave too.
That's a good way to describe him.
Yeah, he looks like you should hide your moms when he's around. Like he otherwise they will flock to him because he's a good-looking gentleman. Let's say it like that. So, but outside of that, you also, especially in flashbacks, you get like these character designs who are definitely more old school, and I feel like they still mix those pretty well down the road. But you definitely notice it. You notice that some of the characters who are characters from the old show that you know from the old show still look a bit older design-wise than someone like Machu, someone like Nyan, someone like Chuji, who are like these super hyper colorful characters in terms of hair, in terms of eyes and everything. More streamlined designs, not bulky in certain parts. And yeah, there's definitely a difference there. But I thought that made the show super interesting visually wise, and I feel it's an achievement that they managed to mesh those two styles together as well as they did without it feeling too alien outside of the flashbacks. So I don't know how you felt about that.
I think when you watch it, you get used to it over time, right? At the beginning, of course, it really puts you off when you, especially, I don't know how you guys watched did you watch the movie prior to the show?
No. I didn't.
No.
John
Okay.
also didn't.
I think in the end, the first episode, 3 episodes, I think, were put into the movie, and like the movie is a cut of the first 3 episodes. I think that's the way it was, and I watched it in the movie theater, and it starts with the infiltration of Site 7, right? But wait, so can I talk about this at this point, or do you want to like pick this up later on in your summary?
We go into the actual plot down the road, but you can still you can already make hints at it if you want to, and we'll just go to.
No, but yeah, but what I liked a lot, like what hooked me from the very first moment, is when I saw the first scenes of the movie, or AKA the first 3 episodes when they did the infiltration thing. This was practically what you mentioned in the intro of the podcast, where you guys said you wished Gundam would get like a retelling of the story with a new look.
Yes.
And this is exactly what happened in the first, I think hour of the movie, and it looked exactly like the original Gundam show. And I think the scenes that they showed were even 1-to-1. There was this one scene when they were in the hangar, and one of the Zaku guys, I think Denim is his name, when he bumped something on the wall and there's this metal piece floating around. This is like 1-to-1 from the original shows. And the moment I saw this, I got so hooked, and I fell in love with the look of the show immediately.
Yeah, I can't see
and then when they switched over to the actual GQuuuuuX design, I've seen picture prior to that, of course, but when you see it the first time, it hits you in the face, but you get accustomed to it quite quickly when you keep on watching. So I think what you said is 100% true. They managed to blend those two styles together perfectly so that it doesn't stand out too well. So yeah, good job on that.
John, how did you feel about it?
I don't know. We watch a lot of stuff on this show. Maybe not as much as we used to, but
still enough. Still plenty.
I feel like enough to be like, I'm pretty accepting of whatever a show is trying to do with its style. So starting off with this, and I know it was cut slightly differently than the movie, but just kind of jumping right in there and seeing, oh, okay, so this is the look they're going for, and then getting the information about the flashbacks later on. It was like
In the
it wasn't
movie,
enough
the
for.
flashbacks come first, right? In the movie, we start with the flashbacks Char stuff, and then after that, move into okay. Yeah, it's a bit different in the show.
And then we get that in like the second episode, so it's not like too long after.
No.
So seeing that, what they were trying to go for with that, I just thought it was really cool. And I didn't think it was too jarring going between them. Just say, this is how they're trying to tell the story, that it's slightly out of order, but, I guess I assume it will make sense at some point. So I just, was just kind of ran with it, and it went where it went. So,
yeah. And I think aside from, the interesting two styles that we have, the general animation quality is impeccable in this. Like, especially the fights look incredible, and there are some standout fights, of course, in the clan battles, but also the final couple of fights in the final episode, like in the 12th episode in the finale, just are insane. It's just mesmerizing. The only thing that maybe detracts a bit from that is that some of the Gundam designs are a bit busy. There are a lot of details going on, so it's not always super easy to entirely grasp what is going on in any given fight scene. But it's just like this, I don't know, this avalanche of visual fidelity thrown at you, and you just roll with it because it's fun to look at. And I feel the CG is also pretty damn good in this, which is not always a given. So I'm really happy to report that I think from a visual standpoint, this show is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when they started using CG, I think in The Witch from Mercury for the mobile suits, it was looking pretty good then, and this is like another step up from there, because the mobile suit design, like the Gundam, the Quux in particular, is like several steps more complex in its design. Mm-hmm. So seeing that they were able to manage that, and it looks, pretty good in motion. So, I mean, so good, in fact, that I went to Anime NYC a couple of days ago and I grabbed a model kit of the Quux, so I have that to build.
Nice.
I feel like it looks the least classic Gundam anyway than any of the other shows. It's definitely different style. You either you like it or you don't. I don't know how David feels about this. I can be like, yeah, all right. It's not my favorite main Gundam design, but it's also not bad. David, how did you feel about it?
I mean, you mentioned it before. It looks quite busy. I think I'm fine with that. The thing that puts me off a little bit is that it has a lot of a robot design itself. Like, the other Gundams, they try to be somewhat, I don't know, like they go into more of a human style of a design. With the GQuuuuuX, if you check out, I mean, John, you can do this when you build the kit, you will notice that, for example, the joints on the arm, it's like two hinges put together. Like you can, like when you watch it, you see it looks very toyish, like a toy. Than a mechanical engineered design. This is nitpicking, but this is just something that jumped into my eye when I saw the design itself. But other than that, I think it's a very daring design, I would say.
For sure.
Trying to go on a limb here, but why not? And I think this design was only possible because CGI exists, right? I think hand drawing a mech fight with that kind of design would be, I don't know, would be impossible.
Oh my God, I can't imagine how many frames of individual animation that would be. Ugh.
Yeah, and then redrawing all the designs, must be a lot of work. But thanks to 3D models, things are very much easier nowadays.
Yes, and the quality is pretty much consistent throughout the entirety of the show. Of course, there are some fights that look better than others, and some scenes in general that look better than others. But I feel like the characters always are on model, and in general, the animation quality on them, on the characters' expressions and everything, is always super high quality and everything. So, yeah, nothing to complain there. With that being said, let's get into the actual plot of the show. So, the summary already might have given you an idea about what is happening here. This is basically because at the beginning of the summary it was like, hey, Char finds the Gundam, and people who might be familiar with the Ultra are like, what? He does what? Because, of course, in the original show, the Gundam is not piloted by Char, but it's piloted by Amuro Ray, who is an Earth Federation kid who kind of falls into the cockpit like most Gundam pilots do, or a lot of them anyway, in one way or another. And so apparently things went different in this iteration, in this universe, wherever we are in this timeline. And at the beginning of the show, we also, of course, don't know why that is. We just know for some reason, suddenly Char finds the Gundam, specs it, like improves it up the wazoo, installs bits into it, and it becomes this one man, as if he wasn't already dangerous enough. Like, you give the most talented pilot in the universe the most powerful machine, and you have a one-man army on your hands, of course. And this is what apparently led to things being a bit different here. The war is over. Earth had to concede to a ceasefire because they were losing after a particular event, and Zeon kind of won the war. And that is where we are, and that's definitely not where we are at the end of original Gundam. So that was just as a concept in itself, as a setup for a new show that kind of heavily relies on the very first Gundam show and is revisiting it in under many different perspectives. This was super interesting and was something that, when reading it on paper and when watching the first 2 episodes and then understanding what it was trying to do, was something that hooked me immediately. I don't know how you two felt about it, just up to that point in the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting, like if you ask the question, what if, right? So that's a part of why, the Marvel show What If was so interesting, because you're so used to what happened in the movies and like all the stories and everything, and now someone comes along and throws it all over and like twists it. So yeah, I'm totally up for it. Like, hit me with it.
John?
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, I had kind of heard a little bit of what this was about before I started watching it, but I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Okay. So, starting to watch it and seeing it play out for myself, AU stuff is always so neat to me. So seeing it happen, seeing it being applied to something like this, which is such old material, and gives it a new angle, a new perspective on the story. It's like really neat. I don't know if now that it's been done once, if it would be as impactful doing it on other parts of UC in particular, or even other parts of the Gundam franchise in general, if it would work as well again. But in this situation, it worked really strongly, and I think it was really cool.
Okay. Yes, definitely my feeling at the beginning of the show when I watched this. It starts out pretty strong. Like, we have this infiltration we talked about in the summary. Like, Zeon is trying to get a hold of the red Gundam, assuming either that it can give them an idea where Char is, or if maybe he's even piloting it, and then that crashes into Side 6, or the fight happens in the Side 6 colony, and Xavier, I don't know how his name is pronounced, is sent by Chaliabal to hunt it down, to find it, to capture it, whatever. And since he can't, for some reason, fully unlock the GQuuuuuX, he just crashes into the colony. And at the same time, we have our ostensible main characters meeting up, which are Machu and Nyan, which are these 2 girls. Machu, the smaller red-haired one, and Nyan, the taller one with the black-bluish hair. And Machu is like this kind of, I guess, well-off kid living with her mom, who's like a single earner, but she apparently goes to a pretty posh school, if I'm not mistaken. At least some characters remark on that several times. And she runs into Nyan, or Nyan runs into her, more appropriately, I guess. Nyan is like a refugee kid. I don't know from where exactly. I don't know if the show states that outright, if she's from Earth or somewhere else. But
I don't know either.
Yeah. She apparently is working as a courier and currently is running or is I guess taking an installer key to a crew of mechanics who do these clan battles, like these Gundam battles, which are kind of similar to what we saw in Witch from Mercury. Like you have different people fighting, not one-on-one battles in this case, but two-on-two battles. And if you cut off the head of the opponent, you win. You don't necessarily have to kill them, but I guess later it turns out you can and still win.
But it's been known to happen.
It has been known to, yes. And because you can't, without an installer key, weapons on mobile suits cannot be used. And since these keys are technically for military personnel only, not for civilians, these are illegal contraband, and you get sacked if you have one in your possession. So Nyan is running away from the police in the beginning and runs into Machu and hides the installer key in her backpack, and then Machu finds out. They later meet up again, and both go, and Machu just tags along to deliver that thing, and what happens must happen. Chaos ensues, and eventually Machu ends up in the GQuuuuuX, who has this new control module installed, which Xavier is not able to unlock, this Omega Psycho, and she is able to do that. We initially don't know why, but we can pretty clearly see that it has something to do with the Haro that tags along with her, the little robot that is, mainstay in the Gundam franchise since forever. I don't know if every Gundam show has a Haro, but most of them do. And but it's not hers. It's one of the other characters, and you can immediately make assumptions like, okay, why can that Haro do it? That's interesting. So yeah, she ends up in the GQuuuuuX, and actually, I thought it was kind of refreshing to have a main character who is not just stumbling into this, at least not fully, but is choosing to get into a mech to fight. Because she first goes into the Zaku that they have outfitted to fight in the clan battles. Mm-hmm. And she actually decides that. She's not just like, oh god, how did I end up here? I must save myself or whatever. No, she sees what that Havoc, the military police, is wrecking on the colony. And she's like, this cannot stand, and decides to jump into a robot and fight, which is, I like that kind of agency in my main protagonist, don't get me wrong, so that was pretty cool. Once she then switches over to the GQuuuuuX, takes her a while to getting used to it, because initially she's only reacting instinctively, but then she gets used to it and makes pretty quick, short work of the military police and their mobile suits. And then after that, for at least a couple of episodes, she is with this crew of mechanics who wanted to have the installer key in the first place, and they call themselves the Pomeranians, I think named after the dog of one of their members, Jesse. So yes, that is it then pretty much for, I guess, the first 1 to 6, 7 episode. That is kind of what she's doing. She's doing the clan battles. Nyan is also around, and then they also run in the second episode, or in the third episode, into this guy called Shuji Ito, not Junji Ito, who turns out to be the actual pilot of the Red Gundam. So it's not Char, but it's him. We don't know who he is. He's very mysterious. He's not talking much, and when he's talking, he's one of those weirdos who is talking to their Gundam. So like Setsuna from Gundam 00 or Mikazuki from Iron-Blooded Orphans. So he's one of those guys. And he and Machu and Nyan start hanging out. And that's pretty much our constellation for the, I guess, first half up to first third of this show. Yeah, what did you think of our casts of ostensible main characters? Any thoughts on those up to this point?
I think the setup itself is quite interesting. right? You're living in a colony, and like police violence is happening, and you're a teenager trying to find your place in life, and you somehow get mingled in this in this bigger picture thing. Of course, it's very exciting, right? And of course, you want to dive in because there's got to be more, right, in life than just what the teenagers are doing. And I like from my view, I feel like the characters' motivations themselves are understandable, right? They want to have a little more meaning in life, and they mention it quite early that they want to leave the colony and see Earth, right? Like the sea and the sky. And I think it's a nice motivation for a character in a show. However, the way it plays out, I bet you're going to mention it in the course of the review when you get to the later episodes. It's not been executed that well, I must say. Especially somehow during the course of the episodes, the two girls, they somewhat like develop an affection for Shuji. I don't know how much I can say without spoiling stuff.
Go for it.
But okay, so yeah, but they get infatuated with Shuji, and they somewhat it turns out it ends up in this love triangle thing, and
but also not really.
Yeah, but it's like the subtext, this underlined thing that is happening, right? And Shuji, of course, he being totally in love with the Red Gundam, he doesn't notice any of that. So the constellation itself, how it turned out, I'm not too much a fan of, especially considering what is happening after, the second half of the show.
John?
I get all that, but, and I guess it's not something that has to happen in every Gundam show, but the teen angst is definitely something that is a core value, I guess, to some of them. Like, the pilots in most of the shows are portrayed to be young and still kind of discovering themselves and what they want. So when there's this kind of sort of not really love triangle between Shuji, Nyan, and Machu, I was just sort of like, I'm sitting there nodding my head like, yeah, okay. So I guess this all makes sense that this is happening. But you're right that it's not really in service of the overall plot.
Not only that, but I feel, and I'll get into that down the road, I will also talk about that in my final thoughts of the show, but I feel like this can be attributed to the runtime, to the compressed nature of the show and everything, but I feel like they don't put that much time into developing any of that. It's like, this is how it is, and you've seen this before, so you'll probably accept this. We're gonna explain a lot of it away with, hey, like John said, teenage angst, also teenagers discovering stuff, maybe this being the first romantic feelings both Machu and Nyan have ever experienced for another person, right? And that then being kind of naive about it and everything. Hey, all of us have to escape to Earth. We have to follow this guy who just exploded into our lives and what we don't know to do with because we're infatuated with them. And also fucking new type space and everything, because all of the three characters turn out to be, that happens very quickly, so it's not really a spoiler, and you could have guessed that because they can control the fucking Gundam. But due to them being new types, they have like this connection. It's actually a kind of plot point for like a minute and a half where Machu and Shuji have this immediate connection because they both can access this new type space, which is like this telepathic link bond between new types that can happen where they enter like this weird area, space, whatever, where everything is sparkling around them and it's colors everywhere. It's like they're high. And so they, that can also apparently evokes a very emotional or deep emotional response from both parties to the degree, especially from Machu, right, who never experienced something like this, and having the first genuine human connection apparently in her life just makes her fall heads over heels for this guy. And apparently it's the same for Nyan to a degree, especially when she also later gets into the Gundam because she has to stand in place for Machu in a certain situation, and also is able to do that different way. I'll get to that, but then you have this love triangle at that point that David talked about, because you then kind of get have Machu being envious because, hey, this is a thing that only Shuji and I had, and why are you now stepping into that? You weren't supposed to, because it was supposed to be my thing and everything.
I mean, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
I think the show can totally be a coming of age show if it wanted to.
Yeah.
And I think I'm also totally up for that. But if you have this, don't add other story or plot points into it and try to make it like bigger than it has to be.
Yes, I think, and I'll get to that in my final thoughts on this. But yeah, you already hit the nail on the head with this, David. Just in terms of focus, there are some issues here. And, the show maybe not putting the time into certain things where it should. Because on the side of this happening, this whole part of the plot, on the other side of it, we have the whole thing of the Zeon people still trying to do something. First of all, you have Chalia Bull, who is still kind of hunting, I guess, for Char, but also maybe doing his own machinations in the background to a certain degree. And I would say this is where we go into spoilers heavily, because there are some twists and turns that happen at least after the third or fourth episode of the show. And I don't want to give those away for people who are who still want to check out the show. So keep that in mind. From this moment on, we're going to go into heavy spoilers and everything. Yeah, so apparently there is still infighting happening, heavy infighting in the Zabi family, right? Because they survived, of course, because Char got teleported away. He wasn't there to execute his final plan, which was always to get rid of the Zabis, because there's this beef between, if you watch the original show, his ultimate plan was to kill all of those fuckers, and he couldn't execute on that because he got teleported away to somewhere by this thing happening to him when he was in this pivotal battle at what was it called, Solomon, that asteroid base or whatever that was supposed to be dropped on the lunar base of Zeon. And then he tried to prevent that, and something happened. I think they call it a Zek Nova or something in the show. And then he disappeared, and has only recently his Gundam has reemerged. So the Zabis are very much still alive. There's some infighting between the big ones that are left, which are Cassilia and Girin. Girin is the supreme commander of Zeon, I guess, but Cassilia is not fine with that. They have different ideas about what Zeon should be trying to do and where the future lies and everything. And yeah, there's that infighting going on, and apparently Chalia Bull still tries to fulfill Char's original plan to get rid of them, as it turns out later on. We learn very quickly, and we could have assumed this when the Haro was able to access the Omega Psychom of the GQuuuuuX for Machu. That Haro was apparently put into the mechanic's hands by Chalia. He has some connection with Anki, the head of the Pomeranians. I don't know. He is trying to get battle data out of the GQuuuuuX. He's trying to find a genuine good U-type pilot for it and everything. So he's definitely doing some shenanigans in the background here. So that's happening on this side. Then later down the road, you get perspective stuff from Cassilia. You get some flashbacks to the 1 Year War. You learn who Shuji really is, and well, no, you don't. But you learn what his role is in this story, and how that differs from all different things. Later on, also, Char reappears, is posing as a different character, and you immediately know it's him. When the first time you see him, it's so fucking obvious.
How could you tell?
Yeah, it's fucking funny. They even go for a different name. But yeah, so as you can see, there's a lot of different shit happening outside of the main or ostensible main characters. So how do you put all of that into 12 episodes? The answer is you don't. And that kind of is the problem of the show. But I'm just going to go a bit more through the plot before I get to my final words on that. So we have the characters do the clan battles. We have like an episode where they fight an old commander or pilot from the 1 Year War. What was it? Shiko, right?
Yeah.
Which was this flying ace, which during it was called the Witch during the 1 Year War because she apparently was a real skilled pilot. And even though her design is very old schoolish, she's not someone from the original show. She's a new character for this. And, she has this grudge because her first MEV, which this is their term for a partner or a teammate, in these two, which was a system apparently developed by Char and Chalia at some point. They were MEVs. I don't know if that term was used in the original show. David, do you know?
I'm sorry, I had to look up who that character is that you mentioned, and I totally forgot about her.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, and
she was there for all of 10 minutes. So
so I thought when I saw her that she somehow had is a callback to what's his face, the captain of the White Base. Oh my goodness. No, Bright Noah.
Yeah, Bright.
Because their eyes are like similarly designed, right? But apparently it's a totally different character. But come again. What was the question that you were going for?
The term MEV as a partner, as a teammate, in a 2-team or a 2-person.
I don't know. It doesn't appear. No, it doesn't appear in the original.
Yeah, that's interesting. So
I can't remember they mention it ever.
Yeah, so they cooked that up for this show then apparently, which makes sense because at least to a degree. We have, like, in the clan battles, these 2-man teams who work together, and it turns out later that Chalia and Char are apparently one who came up with that tactic to always have someone in these high frantic battles, to always a wingman to watch your back, which makes sense. And I thought they would be doing more with that, and it's kind of like, in the end, you have, like, a moment where it's like, hey, let's be MEVs together, or whatever. But aside from that, it's not like they're doing super much with that. But for Shiko, it's a motivation to fight the Red Gundam and whatever, and Shuji currently pilots it, so of course she enters the clan battle. And Shuji kills her, which is like the first real death in the show, I think, or pretty, violent, obvious death, which would have had more impact if we didn't only spend like half an episode of screen time with her. And our characters barely interacted with her outside of battle at all. David just, he didn't remember her. Yeah. So, and that's understandable because she's barely in this. Like, it's super weird. Like, the show makes her out to be like this, war is bad character, which of course every Gundam has to have because that's what kind of the whole show is about. But or the franchise, but
she's also an ace with like 100 kills under her belt. So like,
yes, and don't get me wrong, the fight itself is very cool. Maybe not the best clan battle. I would say that goes to the 2 Rickdown guys or whatever the mechs are called. I forgot it. They are pretty damn awesome, and their teamwork and everything. I love that fight, but. That's fine. But at the end of this, I was like, why was a character in this? Like, to show us that, or okay, I guess Machu after this still has to wrestle with seeing death on the battlefield for the first time, because the first time that she experiences that, and she talked to Shiko like for a second. So I guess that affected her then more emotionally than if any random guy they fight would have been killed. But also, that's one of the many instances in the show where it's like, hey, it would have been cool if that character would have been around longer, and then turns out they have to fight them and then have to kill them, and that would have elicited a much bigger emotional response from the audience and a more understandable response from our main character. Like,
that might be a product of it is a product of the runtime.
Yes.
I mean, you can only budget for so many episodes, and maybe if they were able to do like a 24 episode, 26 episode run, maybe they would have had the space to do that, but clearly they didn't.
Yeah, and, it is another thing, like, she was connected with Shuji's mind through the new type space while fighting it, and she noticed that he didn't feel a thing about killing Shiko, which has her rightfully worried, but also not necessarily anything comes from that. It just has her conflicted for a while. But, her romantic feelings for him still win out and everything. And, this is kind of the moment where we go into the love triangle and everything, and we have kind of somewhat not ill-defined, but loose-defined reason for Machu to yearn for freedom, because feels like she's constricted in her current world that she's in. Like, there's certain expectations made for her, like from her mom, from school and everything, and she doesn't want that. Like, every time this thing of, hey, fill out your career prospect thing or whatever, she writes in it, I want to be a jellyfish or something like that. Like, she doesn't want to already define the rest of her life, and she just wants freedom to explore it, which is, you know, what you talked about, John, what David, you talked about in terms of finding yourself, having teenage angst, and also, you know, not trying to be already defined by other people in that moment in your life. So that's her motivation, to yearn for the freedom that Shuji for her is like, a manifestation of, because he's like this powerful force coming from nowhere and showing her a completely different world, which, you know, together with the new type space stuff, makes sense why she kind of falls for him. And on the other side, you have Nyan, who is like this refugee, constantly ostracized, constantly judged due to her appearance and her origin. Like, she's constantly being screened by security personnel. There's like this awesome moment where they ask her for her, you know, identification and everything just because she looks different. And that elicits the appropriate response from Machu, a good old kick into the nuts. You love to see it. But that's something that immediately says, okay, I get why Nyan wants to run away from all of this. It would have been nice to get an elaboration of any of this after these specific moments in the show, where it's like, hey, okay, what kind of experiences does Machu maybe beyond that yearn for? What is some of her background that makes her feel, or her background experience in the school and everything that makes her feel so constricted? So constricted. I feel for her it's less of a problem. For Nyan, maybe even more. I would have liked to see more of her background, where she came from, and in general, I wanted to see the characters hang more out together outside of the clan battles. I feel like our main trio does not spend enough time with each other. There's like you have like the fights, you have some interaction, you have some montages here and there, but there are no episodes where they're just like, I mean, there's moments where they hang out, but there's not like complete misadventure episodes where they're just all three of them, I don't know, try to go shopping together, try to do something fun, and then run into the military police, have to escape, or whether like growing together as a unit, like as this tight, becoming like this tight friend group. And the show is kind of demanding of the audience to believe that that is what they have, but they kind of don't, which is a problem in my opinion. This is like, because especially after a while, after we get through all of this, things build up, become more climactic. You know, you have the Machu being pissed because Nyan has had also now the sharing experience in the new type space with Shuji and everything, and all of them decide after this they want to escape to Earth, they want to see the sea. Doesn't that sound like Attack on Titan? On the other side of things, the Pomeranians are like, okay, after the next fight, we're gonna rat out the Red Gundam because we can get some money from the military police from that. We're gonna leave the GQuuuuuuX for the Xeon guys, and we're gonna clear out. So that kind of storyline is ending. And on the other side of things, we have some faction from the Earth Federation trying to assassinate Cassilia, who's coming to Side 6 for negotiations, trying to procure money for, we'll learn later for what. And then we have like these characters, cyber new types, who were developed by a lab from Earth Federation, who are trying to assassinate Cassilia. And they apparently are from, at least one of them is from Zeta. Gates Kappa appeared in Zeta Gundam apparently, which I haven't watched, like I said.
The Bascom as well.
Yeah.
Bascom, the guy with the goggles.
Yeah, with the goggles, right. The girl he is with, apparently not. Apparently she's new.
No, it's also a character that I almost forget if it weren't for the huge Psycho Gundam.
Yeah, exactly. She is like this has super big Gundam, which is the first genuine Eva reference, I would say, is in the show, because once she unleashes like her armor, to fly around and hit everything that is in her surrounding, her Gundam starts to look eerily like an Eva mech. Like with the tendons and everything, with the muscle fiber and the stuff, and this much more sleeker human-esque design of her mobile suit. I feel like that was harkening back to some of the Eva robots. Mm-hmm. David, would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. But they are quickly disposed of, like super quick. Like half an episode, they're like trying to attack Cecilia, and I don't even know. I think Chalia takes them out in his mobile suit.
And so it's such a waste, because if you see how De is being introduced in the episode prior to that, it has like this cliffhanger at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
This girl with the mask standing at the window, and they introduce her, supposedly as this super main threat, and then only in the next episode to be like flicked away in a split second. That's just, I don't get these kind of writings, but yeah.
Yeah, it really felt like they were trying to play her up, and then she's dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't even, but you don't see Gates die, right? I feel like he escapes. I don't remember seeing him die. Only her, apparently. So maybe because he has to stick around in whatever this version of Zeta will be. I don't know. But that was really weird. And at the same time as all of this is happening, we have like this climactic moment where Nyan tries to escape with Shuji, tells him that they should leave Machu behind, which is kind of okay. That's not nice. You made different plans, but I guess she wants to keep him for himself, and she's like, let's leave all of this and Machu behind. And that kind of no
rules in the war of love.
Yeah, no rules of love and war. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so that kind of, either that or something else, creates a reaction on the Red Gundam when she talks to Shuji about that, and we get like the second time this big phenomenon happens that happened to Char at that one battle called, I think, what they call Zagnova. And Shuji gets teleported away. And from this moment on, he doesn't reappear in the show until like the very last, like 11th or 12th episode. And okay, like, so I guess that storyline just evaporated, where it's like, I mean,
convenient.
It doesn't completely, because the motivation, at least for Machu, still seems to be to go where he is, because from this moment on, which I think is the 7th episode, if I'm not mistaken, the allegiances kind of get mixed, and two girls get split up. Machu ends up with Chalia. Nyan ends up with Cecilia, right? And she wants to use her for whatever. And Machu, Chalia wants to know who Chuji is. Chalia wants to know from Machu who Chuji is and what he was trying to do, because he thinks he knows where Char is and everything. And from there on, the rest of the show happens.
I thought the interrogation scene was actually pretty interesting, just because I feel like that's the first time we kind of start to see what Shalia really is and what he's trying to figure out, because he's a lot more intense there. It's like, and it's almost like he's reading Machu's mind. I mean, maybe that's like a new type thing that never gets explained anywhere ever.
I think Shalia explains it like he has really good intuition, or a way like that, so he can maybe read her facial language and can partially pick up on certain thoughts. He can probably actively read her mind, but he can grab snippets of it, or certain emotions or something like that, and then he can draw his conclusions from that. We recently had someone like that in another show we talked about. Yes,
that's how they introduced the theory of new type in the original UC show as well, because they always said, like Bright, the captain, always said that Amuro has such nice intuition, and that's why he can pilot the Gundam so well and anticipate other enemies' moves and stuff. And only in the, I don't know, later third or so, the concept of new type gets more elaborated on. But at the beginning, they also put it off as good intuition.
at this point, we also get our second flashback, I guess. We kind of see exactly what happened at the Battle of Solomon. We learned that the sister of Char, Artesia, is the one that killed one of the Zabis, Dozel, in her gun cannon mobile suit. And on Xavier's and Cassilia's behest, Nyan joins up with Zeon and gets to pilot the EVA 1 Gundam. I mean, G-Fred. Hell yes. I love that it has that name. It's exactly, no, it has the exact color scheme. It's
for sure.
Obviously hard. That's the second obvious reference to Neon Genesis Evangelion in this show. For sure. And it looks great. I think G-Fred looks better than GQuuuuuX. Don't harass me.
No, that's true. I think that's true. I'm looking up the design again, and I think I have to agree.
I definitely find the color scheme more interesting, but that's just me. I like the combination of purple and green. So
that works very well. That's true, yes.
Yeah. So we have that on the one side, and we have like a short thing with her and Xavier. Or tells her, hey, all former test pilots of the G-Fred died of a heart attack, and you're immediately like, Xavier also suspects assassination. Who could be the assassin be? Maybe the only one other guy who's still alive from your crew who had access to this thing and who was giving you cake.
Yeah, I wonder.
The cake is literally a lie. And I mean, Jan luckily sees through him. And yeah, so that, he gets like Miguel, that's his name, gets nothinged. Like, he gets blasted away, just fucking disintegrates, like into like not even a puff of smoke or anything. He just disappears when she shoots him with one of the weapons from the G-Fred. We hardly knew him, literally. Like, we see him like for a minute and a half interact with Xavier, and they tell us about their history and bond, and then he already turns out to be an assassin for Giran and gets disintegrated. This seems, again, like a missed opportunity to give some more depth to Xavier's character. And it's like another result of the show going at the plot of the show going at like 200 miles per hour, starting from at least episode 7, if not before that. And so there's so much stuff happening. With the positive side effect of that is never boring. Like, there's so much stuff happening in the show. The negative side of the effect are things like this, where it's like, hey, here's a new character. Whoops, he's gone.
Gone.
So, yeah.
It's the same with the scene where Cassilia is meeting up with Giran, right?
Yes.
In this one room where this assistant, the blonde girl, gets shown.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
By the looks of it, maybe she has a greater role to play, but nope.
Yeah, exactly. There are several moments of like that, and this was definitely one of the standout ones. I don't know if it is here and in the flashback we get here for Char, or if it's an earlier one where we learned that another character was the one that clued Char in on being a new type, who was in the original show, Dr. Flanagan. I didn't remember him from there, but apparently that was an interesting case. We got a design overhaul from the show to the compilation movies, because in the original show, he was white, and then in the compilation movies and in subsequent shows when they reference him, they made him black. They made Gundam woke, y'all! Rise up, weeps.
No, don't. No.
No, but
all right. Okay, I'm seeing this just now. Yes. Okay. I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
That was funny to me when I looked at it. I was like, okay, that is really. But I don't know if they even if he talked to Char in the original show or in the movies, or if it was just
Flanagan?
Yeah.
Yes, they were together. I think on the planet. What is it? It was not on Earth, but on one of the sites. They wrote the horse cattle together.
Interesting.
With Lala. Yeah.
So it was not just. Yeah. So it was not just a change. The change of the events happening in this show, that he was the one who told Char about being what a new type is, and that he is that. It's interesting. So yeah. I didn't remember that, so I wasn't sure. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because Flanagan does ring a bell, but I'm not sure. I remember what his relationship to Char was in the original show, and if it's in line with what they show of their interactions in this show. But yeah, good to know that they also interacted in a similar way in the old show. But yeah, we have, after the stuff with Miguel and Nyan taking over the G-Thread and everything, Chalia Bull sets Machu free to have her unknowingly guide him to the location of the Rose of Sharon, which is this thing that apparently Chuji is after, and which is somewhere on Earth. And that's where Machu goes. And it turns out, which a suspicion you quickly got, especially in terms of where the story was going at this point. At least for me, I don't know how you felt about it. I very quickly got the idea this is probably Lala for some reason. Because of the things we see in the flashbacks with when they talk about the Rose of Sharon and everything, when Char's at the Solomon battle and everything, and you hear the singing and everything. And I'm like, okay, this is probably Lala, and it is her. Was it a big surprise to you that she was in this as well, or did you expect her to be related to somehow to the Rose of Sharon?
Because I watched the original show maybe a couple of weeks prior to GQuuuuuX, she was still present in my mind, and at some point I expected her to show up, but what they did to her. No, they did her not good. The way they treated her in the show, because she was locked away in this brothel kind of thing, right? With the maids and all that, and Machu tried to save her or rescue her from that, and they get like a couple of moments to share.
Really, but only a couple.
Yeah, but then somehow she decides to stay. And stay behind and let Machu escape. So what was the point of all of that?
I guess the point was to have a kind of convenient exposition dump, because this is the moment where we actually learn what's going on. And it's basically, we have two universes that are connected to the new type space. Lala can see into the other one. And because she talks about, she mentions the other side version of Char and Amuro falling in love with her, and vice versa, which didn't happen in this universe. And as we learn pretty much immediately after, the Rose of Sharon is the Elmeth, the mobile armor that Lala piloted in the original show, with Lala in it from the other side, who has somehow, apparently by traveling to through new type space, and has ended up in this universe, and who is probably responsible, we can already assume at this point, that she is responsible for all the changes that happened in to the original timeline, or what we know as the original timeline, because there has to be some some sparking factor here, some instigator, and it can technically only be her. And she, already in the old show, she has, even for new types, she has weird new type powers. Or at least it's alluded to. So yeah, that's where we can garner. And because they have this very short interaction, and Machu apparently is now hell-bent on finding that version of her and setting her free for some reason, which is, again, one of these moments where it's like, this feels like it would have made much more sense if those two characters spent like at least 1 or 2 full episodes together and got to know each other and, talked to each other and had shared experiences and shared, past experience that made them relate to each other. And here it's like Machu wants to do this now because this needs to happen. it's a bit weird, and like you said, David, it does Lala a bit of a disservice, and especially what they kind of do with it with the rest of the show, I guess. This is when the show like kind of slowly gears up for its finale, because we get a bit of flashback to Chalia Bull's past, how he almost died at Jupiter upon being stranded there, and then upon his miraculous return, how he got disillusioned with the cause of gaining freedom for Space Noise due to, all the death the war had caused in his absence, and how Char gave him a new purpose and everything. So that was interesting. Feels like part of a different show in certain parts. Just the whole flashback part, the whole flashback stuff kind of does in a way. But it was still the most interesting, some of the most interesting things we saw from this. Like, I liked his background story. I would have liked to see more of him, maybe even make him the main character. There were these moments where it's like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, all of this, his relation to Char and everything. And to cut things short, because we're already running long, Kycilia kills Girin with nerve gas, which David already talked about. It's like a very quick scene where she just disposes of her brother because she wants to take over, which kind of is not what Shalia planned, because he wanted to kill both of them at the same time, so the war doesn't erupt again, because Kycilia obviously wants to destroy Earth again. That is her long-term plan and everything, and she orders Nyan to use the Rose of Sharon, so Lala and Elmeth, and the new solar ray, Yumagtho, or however it's pronounced, to create a Zagnova to destroy the entire fleet of her brother. I guess Nyan does it because she wants to get Shu back, and thinks because he disappeared in a Zagnova that if she does this, she will be able to reach him again. So that's what she gets out of it. But yeah, that's how we kind of initiate the finale.
I found the choice of name Yomagnu'tho interesting, because I was reading about it afterward. That's the name of one of the outer gods from Lovecraftian lore.
Oh, interesting.
Like Yomagnu'tho, also known as the Feaster from the Stars, and that which relentlessly waits outside.
That makes sense in terms of what it does, as in everything disappears. They, as we later learn, I think this sends just the entire fleet of Girin to the other side, right? To the other universe. Mm-hmm. They talk about this later. Mostly every time a Zagnova happened, it whatever was in its vicinity or area of effect just got sent to the other universe. Only at the very end, something from the other universe, from the other side, comes over to their side. But yeah, it creates this giant hole in space. And I think episode 11 and 12, and David already alluded to this at the beginning of the review, which are the climax of the show, is where the main problem of this show is most evident. And, I've already talked about this, but I want to elaborate on this. The show has a main character problem, meaning the ostensible main characters, Machu and Nyan, are not really the main plot-driving characters of the story. And they lack a lot of agency. You could argue that Amuro was also kind of that in the beginning to an extent, but he kind of grows out of that. They kind of don't, I feel like anyway, but it's much more noticeable here because of the compressed nature of the show. The original Gundam show ran much longer. I guess it's maybe then again more noticeable in the movies, but those also run very long. But, here we have a very low episode count. And starting from the halfway point onward, the breakneck pace of the show makes it seem like most of the important stuff happens around Shalia Bull and Kycilia, at least plot-wise. And the two main girls just get thrown around in there and manipulated by these two forces. And Nyan is doing what she's doing because she wants to bring the boy back she associates with a chance of freedom, which is kind of a problem in itself because the show doesn't give many reasons to properly empathize with their bond. We talked about how this can also be attributed to them not having nearly enough screen time together to make this work. And it is kind of fine to just rely on it being teenage angst and it being just hey, you have to grow into your own person and everything. You can make assumptions about why they have such a strong connection. Same with Machu and everything, which counts for her as well, at least to the halfway point. But after that, Machu and Nyan kind of don't for a long time even mention Shuji. Machu doesn't at least mention them, and she runs into the letter in in the solar ray base thing in Yumagtho. And her agency is now, what? Save Lala to set her free? A girl she just met? Why? Because she feels connected to her like she did, with Shuji due to, her thoroughly undefined desire for freedom? Because she learned that Shuji was looking for her for some reason? All of this kind of doesn't really mesh together. None of this really connects on an emotional level. At least it didn't for me. I don't know if it did maybe it did for you, John, because you sounded more like fine with that approach to these characters. But for me, it didn't work, especially since the show constantly seems to forget who its main characters are supposed to be, and that they are supposed to be the ones to drive the plot and emotional stakes, which reminded me a bit of Carol and Tuesday. That show had a similar problem in the second half. It's like we have two different shows inside this one 12-episode show that are constantly at odds with each other and are fighting for valuable screen time to tell their story. You have the flashback stuff, you have all the infighting. Buffing the runtime up to 24 or 26 episodes would have probably alleviated a lot of these issues. More bonding time between Shuji, Machu, and Nyan, more time to satisfyingly explore their backgrounds, motivations, and individual desire and definition of freedom, and then enough time to also have the Xeon infighting storyline, the weird new type space universe hopping and flashbacks in there. After 12 or 13 episodes, you could have had the big turn where Shuji disappears, which happens, like I said, in episode 6 or 7 of this, that would have given the trio enough time to form a genuine connection. And also for being so heavily featured in the OP, it's really funny that the Pomeranian crew does not appear after the halfway point at all anymore.
That's so weird. Yeah, that's so
true.
Weird.
Yeah, so in this compressed state, all its elements do not quite mesh together. Don't get me wrong. The show is very entertaining. There's always something happening. The fights are amazing. It looks great. It sounds great. But after a while, you get the feeling you're like, it's spinning too many plates at the same time and constantly drops some of them to then later pick the pieces up again and glue them back together. It was a really disjointed experience for me. And you have, like, in the final episodes, you have, like, this moment where Nyan is shooting Cassilia to save Machu, and regretting it immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
And both of this doesn't really connect, because even if the ED and the show insist in it is the case, you never get the feeling that the two girls mean a whole lot to each other. And I get that Cassilia is supposed to have become a surrogate mother figure for Nyan, but they haven't spent nearly enough time together on screen to justify that either.
They had one dinner together.
Yes, and then she brushed her hair. And it's like, all right. Yeah. Wait, okay, so why do you care about not shooting that woman? Like, but also why do you care about Machu? Because the last thing we saw of you was like, and her was like, abandon her, Shuji, run away with me. And after that, you didn't talk about her again. And now you shoot the woman that is the mother surrogate figure for you to save the girl you apparently still care about. Just, it's really weird.
I need you alive so our romantic rivalry can continue.
Yeah, it's something like that. And, you're supposed to feel Machu's need to save Lala. I didn't feel any of that. Not for lack of empathy, but because the show didn't take the time to make me care. And, these are all small bits that happen in the grand scheme of things in the finale of the show, but it also makes it feel like it's not coming together like it's supposed to be. And the scene
just kind of piles up and
yeah, it's like small paper cuts, right? It's like it accumulates more and more and more and more. You keep asking yourself, okay, show, why are you doing this, and where are you actually trying to go with these characters and this story, especially relating to these characters? Like the scene where Machu and Yuran are finally working together as Mavs should be the big cathartic climax, but because of the aforementioned problems, it does not really work from an emotional standpoint. Like, there is not this moment where it's like, finally the two girls are together after being estranged for a while or being separated by fate or whatever, and they mean so much to each other, and now they finally can become true sisters or whatever and partners and help each other out, and none of this really connects or works. And yeah, it just super weird. I don't know how you all felt about the finale in that regard.
So we're in final thoughts territory now?
Pretty much, yeah. I still want to talk a bit about what happens in the final 2 episodes, and there are some good bits here and there. So let me get that out of the way first, and then we're going to get to the final thoughts. Yes. So we're getting an old ED at the end of episode 11 with the original Gundam appearing, which I thought was pretty damn cool. That was an awesome moment. I gotta say, when you see that frame of the original Gundam, when Shuji pulls it out of the other universe ass, it was
especially
just...
when the music started.
Yes, exactly. It was just like this musical sting. Yeah.
The very one single goosebump moment for me in the show.
Yes, same for me. It was really like, okay, that's what's happening. That was pretty cool. And we learned an interesting bit. Like, in the other universe, Char died instead of Lala, who protected him in the original version of Gundam 0079. And that's why she Zaknovad and created a new universe where he was alive, which many times didn't work out up to this point. This apparently is the first universe where this actually worked, where Char is still alive. And, I thought the other side was the old Shu, but apparently it's yet another different timeline. So that was an interesting and neat surprise. It was like, okay, that's what's happening. That part of the plot made sense to me. That part of the plot worked for me. It was also very hilarious that Kycilia, after all this, dies the exact same way as in the old show.
Yes.
Gotta say, though, the old version of that scene is a bit more badass. Like, it was fine in this, but the musical sting in the old show and the way, Char appears and everything and how her head literally gets blown off is cooler. Like, definitely more badass in the old show. But still fun in this one, especially because it's like, after all her additional machinations, everything, she ends up exactly the same way. So that was funny. And yeah, like we already mentioned at the top of the show, the animation quality in the final episode is goddamn insane. Like the fights of the 2 girls against Shuji in his original Gundam and everything. The RX, what's the designation?
RX-78?
I think so. And yes, and I guess we get a somewhat happy end after all this. Like, Shuji gets convinced to not kill Lala because he intended to do that to stop her from destroying both universes, I think was the idea here, because Char rejected her try to save him, like her attempt to save him. And Shuji was worried that would make her so distraught that she would just implode, basically, and take all universes with her. So he wanted to kill her to destroy this particular universe and keep the other one alive. I think that was his motivation, which is, also a bit of guessing words in part because we don't learn anything about Shuji, really. Like, fans have speculated he is Amuro Ray's and Chan Agi's son, but I don't think that has been confirmed in any way. Maybe it's Amuro himself or his ghost. I don't know. Just his consciousness transferred to a body on this side. Who knows? The show doesn't tell us as far as I know. Or did you pick up on any of this?
I think in the end it doesn't matter for me, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's a problem in itself.
There's that, but they also sort of left part of the ending opening where Amateo is like, well, I hope I can see Shuji again. And it's like,
Yeah, maybe she'll, the girls hang out at the sea at the end, which is where they wanted to end up. And it's like, hey, maybe we'll travel to where Shuji is, so to the other universe, whatever that means. So we might get a different retread of Zeta Gundam after this, where the girls interfere for some reason. I don't know what that would look like. Yeah, but I also don't know how you would actually. This definitely feels like a one-off. This definitely feels like a one-season thing. And yeah, there is a bit of a teaser in the end, but I would be super surprised if we get another season of this. Because
I think they could do a movie of some kind and call it, probably. Yes. I don't see another season either. If
I didn't learn that Anno wasn't even that involved with this, I would have said, hey, this is the love letter, and he just wanted to play with his old toys and everything. So I don't even know if beyond this they have plans for anything else, or they were just like, hey, we want to do our different interesting spin on, what could happen if things went differently and why did they go differently, and then throw some new characters in there and everything. I don't know if that lends itself well to a second season, considering how this one ends. I was surprised how many people survived, like, in this. Like, it's a really kind of happy end. Like, Shalia survives, Xavier survives, the girls survive, Char survives. Like,
yeah.
Like, Lala got her wish. He he lives on in this universe, and he meets this universe's Lala, and apparently, judging from her reaction, they will end up together and everything. So I guess, like, all things that end well in that regard, maybe not necessarily for the viewer because the journey was so scattershot, but
everybody wins, asterisk, except for the zombies.
Yeah, well,
they
never
don't win.
Yeah, they don't deserve anything but death. So I mean, that's harsh, but kind of deserved, But it was funny, and I feel like this is one of those missed opportunity shows. If it had more episodes or a tighter focus, it would have probably worked a bit better. And, maybe it should have omitted at least one of the girls, or both, concentrated on Char and Shalia, their relationship, something along those lines. Made it really an alternate universe continuation of 79. Like, really picking up immediately from that, and then just, I don't know, like I said, having Shalia being the main character. Like, there's some ways you could have like savored this. Okay, here's my pitch.
Yes, but cute anime girls sell merch.
So if you want to keep your anime girl, if you want to keep your cute anime, which I guess, of course, ex-Gainax Khara is a die-buster director. Yes, sure. That needs to be in there, I guess. So, make Shuji and Machu the main characters. Have them develop a real relationship while fighting in the clan battles. Have them grow closer together outside of them too. Also make Shuji an actual character who doesn't talk like a weird monosyllabic baby. Make that stuff take 10 to 12 episodes. After that, Shuji finally learns about the location of the rose, which he was able to procure by connections made during the clan battles. So those have an actual purpose. Or, he finally finds out where Char is and deduces where the rose is through that. He leaves Machu behind. She tries to find him because now it makes sense that she completely fell head over heels for him and everything because they have a legit bond. Joins forces with Shalia because he can give her hints to where to find Shuji because he's more in the know. And from that point on, you can proceed as the show already does and end up at the same finale, but with the focus on the clash between Shuji and Machu only. And you use all the extra time and episodes to explore more of Machu's character, why she feels so trapped in her current life. You can have Shuji tell stories about his life that relate to that, without revealing his real identity and agenda, but from the stuff he experienced on the other side. And to Machu, it could just sound like he experienced that in this universe, but at certain points we're like, oh, okay, he experienced that on the other side. You can throw in little hints in there. It's like, wait, that doesn't make quite sense. That doesn't line up. To cue the viewer in on the fact that he's maybe from another universe and everything. Keep the mystery going. You can, for example, make him somewhat related to Lala in a way that would explain why he's doing what he's doing. And you can mix Chalia's and Char's relationship into that as well and expand on their shared feelings of emptiness, which is a big thing about Chalia's background. And, his shared thing with Char, like I said. I think that would have worked much better, but I'm no screenwriter, so, make of that what you will. But I feel like if you had a tighter focus on a more select assortment of characters and had actual main characters, decided on actual main characters, this would have been much more consistent and emotionally rewarding show. The way it is, the show suffers from way too many undefined characters. Those are my 2 cents on this. What did you guys? What did you expect from the show? Which expectations were met? Which were not met? Which were your biggest holds up? What was the stuff you liked the most? Your final thoughts.
You want to go first, John? Or
you can go for it.
The guest goes first.
Oh, okay.
I already took your spot.
Okay, so I think with most of what you say, I would agree. And from what we saw in the very first episodes, how the war took a different turn, and how Xeon won and everything, I thought it would focus more on that. But like you said, there is so many plot strings during the course of just 12 episodes that there was no way they would have been able to tie them together. And focusing just on a handful of characters and not so many would have done the show good. What I've missed in the show was what a huge missed opportunity is to dive more into the character of Artesia, Sayla, because she appeared just I think twice in the show. At the very beginning, when before the transportation thingy happened, and then at the very end when you see her claiming the throne, where you even see the Rambaral, which I was very happy to see, by the way, because I like Rambaral's character very much. Because we've learned like the constellation of them in Gundam: The Origin was so strong, right?
Yeah,
I love the development of how Char and Artesia, how they developed during the show and how they got separated during Gundam: The Origin. And I wish that now that you get the chance of do like a what if show of Gundam, you could have dove more into the relationship between those two and give Sayla more screen time, because as a fan of the character, she disappeared after the Gundam OG show, right? She was not in Zeta Gundam or Double Zeta. I mean, this is of course because the voice actress, she sadly passed away, and they decided not to recast her. And
maybe that's why she also doesn't have any lines in this. Like she's not talking in this show like at all the 2 or 3 times she appears.
Yeah, but they could have recast her, the voice actor, because the Char's voice actor is also not the same from the original show. It's a different guy. So they could have done that with Artesia, our sailor. And I would have loved to see her more in the show. So for me personally, that is a big missed opportunity. But other than that, we've talked about the look and the sound and all of that. So that's all fine, right? So they can give me anything. I'm fine with what they do, but if the plot has so many holes or it's not coherent, it loses my interest. So while watching the show, I never ever felt any empathy for any of the characters. It's maybe because I'm just older than the characters themselves, that I can't relate to them. But still,
I feel like there are enough shows out there that have a younger main character, and the writing is still strong enough that it makes you empathize them with an old guy. So I don't think it's the age gap.
So if you compare this show to War in the Pocket had just 6 episodes. If I'm not mistaken, they were like longer. I think 45 minutes. I'm not sure, but even if, then it would be 12 episodes, right? If you spread it across the show time itself. The story that War in the Pocket told, it was so endearing and captivating because they focused on 2 characters, or like the initial gist of it. It was 2 characters and then side characters, but the focus was just Bernie and L, right? The boy and the Xeon pilot. And the story that they told was so captivating, and it was so heartwarming, heartbreaking. It hooks you right away. But if you try to tell a story of characters, like so many characters like in GQuuuuuX, how do you focus on one? How do you build up enough empathy for the viewer to care for them? Right? It's not possible. So I think it's I'm a bit heartbroken that the show, in the end, for me, it didn't do it. As a Gundam fan, as a Gunpla fan, I would say it was each episode was somewhat of a, how do you call this? Like in German, we have this Überraschungsei, right? So where you buy this chocolate, and inside there's an egg with a toy inside, and you don't know what to.
Kinder eggs exist in America too. I don't know. Maybe they're forbidden at this point. There was this weird thing going on for a while. I don't remember, but I think John knows what it is.
Yeah, no, Kinder eggs are. I think they were like restricted from sale for a while, but I think they're kind of back in a different way. I'm not 100% certain on that though. Yeah.
But like each new episode was like that for a Gunpla fan. Okay, so which Gunpla, which kit, which mobile suit appears next? And I had so much joy looking for new iterations and designs of the kits. I think in one of the trailers that they showed, of course, they showed the GQuuuuuX and the Zaku, the police Zaku. And at one point, I was able to spot a Rigdom, and I was so happy to see like a new iteration of these kits. and then they actually did appear. You know, the black tri-stars. It's I mean, here it's just 2 on 2. I think it's funny that they kept the third guy dead because in the original the guy died as well.
Yeah.
Seeing like a rigged up with 3 legs, like what the heck?
It was a standout fight in general, just fucking amazing.
That was nice to see. Or the Gyan, Savior's Gyan, the white knight. And the new design looked so amazing, and I would so get a kit of that.
What did you think of the redesigned first Gundam, like that Char procures? Because it definitely probably looks the most different, at least from let's say from a layman's perspective, in terms of looking at the old design, which we get at the end of the show, right? We get the old version of this, still slightly redesigned. When we get the old version of that, but also in the beginning, we already have the Gundam that Char finds looks very different compared to the original Gundam.
The white Gundam, right?
Yeah, the white Gundam.
It's like a very aggressive design, I have to say. I would. How do I word this? If Gundam or if the RX-78 would get a, I'm not sure if. Like if I can word this correctly, what I have in my head, like a functional sports outfit. That's what the white Gundam looks like. It gets like very sleek, right? And in the feet, they look like sneaker. I think that's a very fun design.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about it before, but yeah, that makes sense. That works. That's
a fun design. And then seeing like the big Zam being mass produced in one of the episodes was also very nice. What else do we have?
We had like 5 or 6 of them, right?
Yeah, they were ready to attack. I think the best suit overall, I have to say, was the Gelgu, the Shiko. The woman with the blue hair.
The witch, yeah.
Like her suit, which looks like a GM somewhat, but the redesign of that, I'm totally up for that. I like this a lot. And I just can't wait to get my hands on them. So from a Gunpla fan's point of view, I'm very happy with what the show did. Like the Psycho Gundam, especially. Psycho Gundam was also like, I mean, they went out on a limb with its design as well. But yeah, why not? I agree with that. Gun Cannon was also very nice. So if I have the financial means, I would totally get all the kits at some point.
Looking forward to seeing you build them on the channel.
Yeah, but as a Gundam fan, I'm waiting for what they have as a next show. I've watched it. It's fine to have it, right? I was happy to see Char, Celia, and all the Zabi people in a new, upgraded design and all that. But at the end, the story for me didn't do it, and I was not emotionally involved in the show, not at any point. So yeah, I'm sad to say this.
Did you expect anything from the show in regards to it being a product of Studio Khara, even well known for Evangelion and everything, like outside of the little nods here and there? Did you expect anything to get from the show in regards to this being an Hideaki Anno project that was fulfilled or was not fulfilled, where you were like, I expected this to go more into, I don't know, weird philosophical direction like Eva does or whatever, or were you like,
I think in some way they tried to do this with the Kira and all that kind of things, like the dialogues that Matsu had with Shuji in one of the episodes. I can't remember which one it was. I think they tried to lean into that a little bit, and I don't know if it was such a wise decision to have so many callbacks to Evangelion, like the design of the G-Fred, or did you notice the leader of the Pomeranians? She could be the sister of Grandis from Secret of Blue Water.
Right. Yes.
Right. So
totally.
So in general, I'm not a fan that so many IPs try to go this multiverse route, especially here with the Gundam. I don't know if using Evangelion pictures in a Gundam show would somehow water down the brand itself, right? That somehow you
would like to keep it more cleanly separated.
I think. I mean, it's nice to see what they it's like a fan fiction,
Yes,
right? So
absolutely.
Hideaki Anno,
100%.
Gets to write like his own show, like do with it what you want, and I think it's nice to see what he would do, but it doesn't mean that we have to be a fan, right?
No, of course not. I was just wondering, and I feel like they don't go overboard with it. It's not like, hey, here is, I don't know, different here. This Gundam suddenly, or this mobile suit looks like one of the angels from Eva or whatever, right? They don't really do that. So I feel like that, aside from maybe the Solomon looking like that, one of the angels, and from a certain perspective, in one of the episodes, but they don't really go there. It's only nods, it's only references, only homages in certain parts. But I can also see the perspective of like, I don't know if that works for me in a Gundam show, which I define as something else.
But if you sprinkle in those things, you automatically succumb to comparison, right? You can't expect for friends not to draw this comparison.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they invite that, and I mean that's also something they probably counted on, because just Hideaki Anno is a name. Hideaki Anno is a name that is familiar. A lot of anime fans are familiar with. So if you make that person responsible, or his studio at least responsible for your new Gundam show, there are certain expectations that people have towards this show. And that was, I was mainly wondering about, like, were some of these expectations met for you guys, or did you have different expectations towards this than you would have to other Gundam shows, because that name was involved? Or were you like, no, it's just he gets to do something, and maybe it relates to some of his other stuff, but maybe it's also just a love letter to Gundam, or his love letter to Gundam in general, or his studios. And what you said about Artesia was got me thinking they could have made her the main character of this, like put her in Machu's role, for one reason or another. You would have to restructure the story, but might as well have her relationship with Shuji in a way, right? And she's supposed to be a princess and maybe a prospect if the Zabis aren't around to regent, but she doesn't want to be, and maybe she's trying to escape from that, which would again relate to the freedom topic and everything. You could have structured the story completely around her, and that might have worked a lot better, especially since she has relationship to a lot of these other characters, while our current main characters don't. So that's an interesting idea. I would have liked to see that version. John, what are your final thoughts on this show? On what I asked about, what were your expectations towards this in relation to that Hideaki Anno was involved? I mean, you have no experience with the Eva franchise really, but maybe with some of the other projects and everything. So what final feelings?
I mean, you guys hit on a lot of it, but my exposure to Anno's work is a lot more limited. So I went into this mostly with curiosity than anything else, than with any sort of meaningful knowledge. Did I enjoy the show? Yeah, but there's a lot of buts that have come up. So yes, there's a lot of asterisks to put on this show.
There's also a lot of ass in this show. Like in terms of nudity level, this is the most heavily the Gundam show that goes most into that, which makes sense regarding which people worked on this. But there's a lot of naked flesh in this. It's not a criticism, just something that definitely is noticeable. This is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But
no, not at all.
Some of the mech designs were pretty cool. Some of them, like you were calling out the Gelgoog earlier, and I was just sort of looking at it, and I was like, "But what do you mean? That's just a gun cannon." So I was a little confused on that, because you look at what a normal Gelgoog looks like, and it's just like a more armored up Zaku.
I mean, you can even see the Gelgoog in the flashbacks. The Gelgoog fighting the granddaddy.
Yeah, and that's true. So that I was like, I didn't feel any particular way about the design, but just like, why are you calling it that? It's not that. Am I the crazy one? So there was that. I mean, the Psycho Gundam was neat. Do got done like a dog, which is unfortunate. Would have, after they built her up or tried to build her up.
They built her up for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, like that's why I say tried.
Yeah.
And you guys are right. This show moved like 100 miles a minute, mostly to its detriment.
At least it's not boring.
No, it's not. It's not. There's something happening all the time, and I appreciated that. And that's what held my interest, was like, oh, well, there's this going on, but there's also this going on, but there's also this going on, and there's that going on. I thought it was cool that they brought in Suisei Hoshibachi for the ending theme. I don't know how much you've listened to us in the past, David, but I am sort of VTuber pilled. I don't watch as much Hollow Live as a mutual friend of CC and mine, but kind of aware of them on the fringes of some of the other people that I enjoy watching, and I like seeing what they're up to. So hearing her sing the ending theme was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, neat.
Yeah, a friend actually introduced me to a HoloLive trading card game the other day, so yeah.
Oh, no.
I thought you were super busy with the Gundam trading card game. What are you doing? Is it unfaithful? What is this nonsense?
As long as trading cards, I'm on board, but yeah, please continue.
But yeah, I think there are a lot of things to like about this show, but there's also probably about as many things that pull it down. And I think it's perfectly okay to enjoy this show. I enjoyed it, but no piece of media is free of criticism, is the thing. And boy, there's a lot of things to criticize about this show. And maybe, who knows, maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the line, they'll try and redo this. Maybe they'll try and expand on like at least the ending part with like a movie at some point. Who knows? There's always a chance to take something and have a redo. So I think that, even though this concept is probably a one-off, and you're right, I think it would be a weird angle to go and be like, oh, we're going to do this again with Zeta or something else. I think that would just be sort of like, But I think it would be possible to maybe at future point look at the writing in this show and give it the treatment it really deserved, because
it had a lot of potential. A lot of potential. Like the beginning couple of episodes were so intriguing. There was so much interesting setups and everything. So,
but yeah, the potential is there, and they kind of squandered it in large part. So maybe at some point they'll come back to this and say, okay, what if we retold this in a different way? Like your guys' ideas of like making Artesia the main character. I think that's cool. Or, having it just be Machu instead of Machu and Yan. I think that would be really neat as well. But, time will tell if that happens, and blah, 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 blah. I'm curious about one thing for you guys, though. And I brought this up during the discussion for Lazarus, and I'm bringing it up now. Sub or dub?
Well, we don't have the attachment, and I don't know this. Okay, this relates to another. Where can people even watch this, John? I think it's on Prime, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
So
Prime.
I don't know if it got a German dub over here, and I think outside of actual US shows, I never watched the English dub of anime because it's not our native language, so it would make sense to maybe watch it in German. But in general, I'm speaking for myself, I watch anime subbed, the exception being Monster, which I'm currently watching because that show is set in Germany and I wanted to see it with a German dub. But I assume, David, you also watched it subbed?
Yeah, always sub. I can't even remember the last show I watched dubbed.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because it looks like it was dubbed into English, French, Spanish, Italian, Polish.
Interesting.
Interesting. But yeah, I was like, you know what? It's getting simul-dubbed.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch it dubbed. It was definitely of a higher quality than like Lazarus had some good, strong moments in its dub, but on the whole, it was kind of, I think the voice director could have done their work a little better. Mm-hmm. But in GQuuuuuX, I think it was really strong, and I really liked, I think the performances from Anaris Quinones and Thea Sakolidi, who were Nyan and Amate, respectively. I thought they were really good. I really liked Shalia's voice actor, Fajir Al-Kaisi. He just came across so smooth and so suave in English. It was like, oh, this is exactly what they were going for, and it translates so well. So, like, the English dub is really solid in this show. So I think it's worth watching one way or the other.
I think Chalia is the character in the show who is the winner, because I think in the OG he had like 2 episodes or so, but here he was almost the main character, and he gets such a nice treatment, gets you like a suave dub voice. So yeah, he's probably the winner of the show.
Absolutely, like the way the show is working or set up right now, at a lot of moments in the show, he already feels like the main character. Like he's halfway there. Like he drives so much of the plot. He is so much more in the know than the other characters. He guides so many of the characters to certain specific parts. He has so much. He has relationships with the other main character, technically, who disappeared. That is Char, right, from the old show. Like, he is all but set up to be the main character in this, and then they kind of forgo that for some reason, which is weird. Like, there is, aside from maybe doing a show where only Machu and Shuji are around, or Artesia is the main character, the third version of this that would work, I think, is if it was Chalia, if it was completely structured around Chalia Bull. Like, if he was the main character, and it's all about his journey to finding the person that gave to finding the person that gave him a new purpose in life after he almost died, and trying to fulfill the wishes of that person. And then maybe it turns out that's what happens at the end of the show. Like, he goes against Char and is like, hey, I think you will turn out to be exactly what Kycilia is right now. You will eventually fare war against Earth again, and I can't let that happen. The only thing I want is for new types to live happily, and if I've realized that your way isn't it. And if they structured the whole show about that, around that realization and that relationship of those characters after being really right tight friends, partners, whatever, war buddies, and then having, by the end, to turn against each other because their views have changed over the years. It would have been a super interesting show. It would have been felt substantial. It would have been emotional, rewarding, and yeah. So that is a legit third good version of this story that could have happened. So yeah, maybe, like John says, like, I don't know, with a decade, a couple of years, whatever, maybe we'll get that kind of story. Maybe we get another universe where it's all about Chalia and Char's relationship. I would very much love that. But yeah, I guess that's it for our long review, longer than I expected, of GQuuuuuX, but that's how our reviews goes, especially when we have an extra very nice guest around. Thanks for joining us, David. This was super fun, and this was a really good talk. And
yes, definitely.
Yes, I hope you had a good time. It seems like you did.
No, definitely. So thank you so much for having me. Getting to talk about, my favorite franchise. Of course, I'm always up for it. So thanks a lot.
Want to plug
thanks for jumping in.
Yes, exactly what John said. Do you want to plug your YouTube channel for a final time so that people know where they can find you?
You've talked about this, and I don't want to talk too much about like myself and this thing. I always hate doing self-promotion, but yeah, look up Giant Robo Love, like Robo without the T. And I'm doing Gunpla stuff on there. I have a video up about I'm going to make a Chrome-looking Witch from Mercury kit. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, it's going. I don't know when your episode is going live, but
I don't know either.
Yeah, but it would probably be live when your episode is going live. So yeah, if you guys check it out and say something nice, please tell me that you're coming from the podcast. Then I will know who you are. But thank you so much for having me. It was a blast. And if Bandai will release the next Gundam show, which I bet they will, because Gundam 50 years is coming up soon, I'm happy to be here again.
Oh my God, 50 years.
Can you imagine what... I mean, the expectations towards that show might be even higher than towards this one.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. Hey, maybe we'll get that the origin reimagining of the first show for that. Who knows? I mean, that would be a good reason to get that, but I don't know if they also want to do another reboot/reimagining of the original show right after this one. But again, we also got a show that heavily featured one-on-one battles right after a show where that was featured heavily. So we'll see. But maybe Bandai Namco / Sunrise is not averse to retreading ground pretty quickly after the previous show. We'll find out. But yes, for me, the show was a very mixed experience. Aside from the main Gundam design, I loved the entire presentation of this. The design work, both in the current time and the flashbacks, the colors, the music, the animation was incredible, especially the fights. The CG employed for the mobile suits is actually pretty damn good most of the time, even though the somewhat busy mech designs sometimes make it a bit hard to process what exactly is going on. I like the flashback stuff to the 1 Year War especially, and wouldn't have minded to see a whole show about that. But regardless, this is a very quick, mostly entertaining watch with a lot going on, which makes it a breezy, entertaining experience. But it also introduces a lot of the big problems in the show, mainly not enough screen time for too many characters and a severe lack of focus. A lot of things are happening very quickly, but due to missing or flawed characterization and scattershot jumpy plot, it can feel very random at times. If you don't mind that and are in it only for the eye candy or just to see a somewhat interesting take on parts of the original 0079 show and its characters, go for it. If you want a substantial, well-written, cohesive series with rewarding emotional build-up and payoff, I think you're better off jumping into the cockpit of a different Gundam show. And that is a wrap on the 170th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our podcast is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Find us where all the podcasts live, but also check out animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Please leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice if you can. Follow us on the socials or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
So long, everybody.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
What can you do when the odds are stacked against you?
What else but add some extra fuel to the fire?